Hello and welcome back to the e-commerce version 2 series. If you have missed any previous tutorials, no problem at all. The code is already available in the link in the video description for you to start following along this tutorial. However, if you do want to start from the very beginning, go over to the channel, look for the playlist Django E-commerce Project version 2, and that would take you through a number of different steps. Now, some of these steps are just for showcasing some of the technologies that you could use. So for example, the last tutorial, we showcased Django Ninja API Framework. I did summarize. So the tutorial here, Django DRF e-commerce inventory with Elasticsearch and PyTest, that was literally a kind of a summary tutorial of all these other tutorials that I've completed so far. So if you do want to start from the start, then by all means start from this tutorial here, the Django DRF e-commerce inventory with Elasticsearch and PyTest. Now, another thing is a recommendation. If you did want to learn a little bit more about how a database design came about, then just have a look at the first tutorial. So you can skip this component if it's not for you, go to the next section, use the timeline in the description, but I'm just going to take you through the content of this tutorial because I want to make sure that I'm not going to waste your time because this is likely to be a very long tutorial. So we are building a promotion app for an existing application that we've been building. And like I said, you can see the tutorials in the e-commerce version 2 playlist. Now in this tutorial, we are going to fully integrate Docker into our application. So we have been utilizing already for our database. And now we're going to go ahead and implement it with Django, our project. We're going to include Redis, have Celery, Celery Beat, Flower, and then also we'll go through the Visual Studio Code extension for Docker. So our whole project will be Dockerized. Everything will be in containers at this point. So we can then move forward and then we'll have a look at the database and we'll have a look at the changes that we need to make in our database. So this is the, and this is a link in the description if you want to have a look at this. This is the database that we're going to be working with. So we've already created everything. If we have a look at the previous, we've created everything already. Again, have a look at the previous tutorials on how to create this. So the first tutorial went through the steps of building this. And then in this tutorial, we're going to build kind of an extension here. So we're going to have a many-to-many table over to the promotion table, and we're going to connect coupons and have promotion types. So this is the final schema here for our database that we'll be moving forward with. So in addition to that, we want to just go through a few steps of validating or adding some validators to our table to validate some of the data that's going to be entered into our database. And we also include a little bit of field refactoring. So because we're including this new app, there's a few fields that we probably want to remove from additional tables. So we go through that process. Now everything in this tutorial will be tested. So we'll go through building some unit tests for our promotion, then go ahead and build. We'll also go through the process of unit testing with Celery. I didn't mention that this document is available if you want to read through it. If you download the starter code in the video description, there's a link to that code. You can go ahead and look for the README file in the main directory, and you can just read through this. I've gone ahead and created a scope for this promotion app, or requirements if you like. So here, this promotion app, I tried to create some generic requirements, which hopefully you can then build upon. So this promotion app in our application, we need to be able to add new promotions, of course, and then those new promotions, we need to be able to select individual products so that we can connect those products to the promotion. In this tutorial, we focus on really the back-end component here, which is really quite simple. The front end, that's where most of the work is done. So it's very easy for us to build the database and components so that we can store data, we can store individual products and connect it to the promotion. But there's a lot on the front end that we would need to develop to build a very simplistic way for people to be able to do that. And we will add a small component that allows us to get going, but we won't fully move into the front end at this point to allow for more intuitive selection of products. Now we want to be able to bulk apply discount as a percentage. So that's what I've selected. So for example, we're going to select products in this promotion app, and then we're going to be able to apply a discount as a percentage, 10%, 20% or 30% off. So that's kind of the chosen method in this case. And of course, as soon as we select the products and press go, that's going to apply that discount to those products. Now, of course, there'll be times where you want to manually override that discount price. So this app should also give us the opportunity or tools to be able to manually override the discounted price so that we can define our own custom price to different products that have been selected in the promotion. So just skipping this component here because this will make a little bit more sense later on. We're going to need to be able to specify the timescale of this promotion. So this is where Celery Beat starts to come into play. So we want to define when the promotion should start and when it should end. So using Celery Beat, that's going to start the promotion at set times, and it's also then going to end the promotion at the promotion end time. But of course, you might also want to be able to set the promotions automatically. So there should be a way of manually starting and stopping promotions as well. So our app will be set to provide or give us the grounding for us to start to develop different types of promotions. So essentially in this promotion app, we're going to have two types of promotions. A user-defined promotion, whereby they set the time and the discount amount as a percentage. And then also we're going to integrate the coupons component in this promotion app. So this app is going to allow us to define coupons, and then those coupons will be they will be utilized eventually once we get to the checkout components. So coupons are essentially in this app going to be utilized in the checkout component, but we're going to set out all the fields that are going to be needed so we can start to actually connect it to individual products. So using Celery Beat, we're going to create a daily automated scheduled task, which will then manage the promotion activation. But let's just imagine that we are going to be running a store. We're not going to probably be wanting to, in the middle of the day, start a promotion, particularly if we've got hundreds of thousands of products. This is probably something that's going to happen in a time or a period of the store where there isn't much traffic, and that's probably early in the morning. So this promotion app is going to have a daily automated scheduled task or tasks that's going to manage the promotions and activate them, deactivate them, and so on. And that's going to be running at 1 a.m. every day. So that'll probably change the scope as we move along, but that's kind of a basic overview of what we're trying to build. Once we've built that, we'll go ahead and just fine-tune the API because our API at the moment doesn't return the discount information, the promotion information. So we'll go ahead and update the API endpoint, refactor that to include the promotion price. And then the last step, because we're getting closer now to the front end or building the front end, we're going to install Swagger, which is going to give us some API documentation. So that's the plan for this tutorial. Now there is a link in the video description, like I keep saying, which will take you to the code repository for e-commerce part 2. Yeah, Django E-commerce Project part 2. Now the code that we're going to start from is part 7. Now, this is going to be part 9. This tutorial is part 9. It doesn't exist yet because we've not built it yet. So that's the code that we're going to start with. Now, I did mention the README file. That's what I was just reading from. Just here, this is a README file. So that doesn't exist yet in part 7. You will find, now that you're watching this tutorial, there will be part 9 here. You can go through that README file and read through that document. So go ahead and just download the code and then open up part 7 in Visual Studio Code. And that's where we're going to start from. So here's the setup. I've got a folder here called app3. Inside of that, I've downloaded part 7. I put it inside of this folder. And then I'll go ahead and just open that up in Visual Studio Code. Of course, if you're not familiar with this. So that's on my desktop. So app3, press open. So what that presents me with is a folder called part 7. So first of all, let's just go ahead and create our virtual environment. However you do that, there is a tutorial not too long ago I showed you on Windows and Mac how to achieve that. So here I'm going to type in Python. Let's warm up Python 3. We're going to create a virtual environment right here. I nearly said virtual machine, which I apologize for. Someone pointed that out the other day. So that's my virtual environment. So let's just make sure that we can activate that in Mac, of course. We type source bin activate. So that's activated nicely. So before we do anything else, let's just make sure that you've got a copy of Docker desktop installed and it's running. So let's just double check that. So in the Mac here at the top, you can't see it, but in the menu, I'll just open up the dashboard. So we have everything's empty at the moment. So it's completely brand new, nothing going on here. So we haven't got any images at the moment either. So this is just downloaded. This is what yours should look like if you've just downloaded it. So that is ready to go. Okay, so we want to navigate into part 7 folder in order for us to access the manage.py file there. So we're going to cd into that folder, part 7. So now we're working inside of that folder. Oh, that's a Windows. Okay, so now we know we're working inside of that folder. Let's just go ahead and have a look to see what we've got so far with Docker. So Docker Compose, at the moment we are running the Postgres database and Elasticsearch inside of Docker. So let's just go ahead and get this project started first, because if you can't get this project started to begin with, there's no point moving forward. So if you're not familiar with Docker, I have left in the demo here some management commands. So you can just run these commands. So one's for Docker, one's for loading the fixtures. So here you can see that you can just type in compose up D, and that will then run all the containers. So we'll just give that a go first, get that all up and running. So that's probably going to take a few seconds. It needs to download the image and then start the container. So all the settings for this has already been described in the previous tutorial. So we've got a basic setup for both Postgres database and Elasticsearch. So once that's finished downloaded, it should start some new containers. So head back into Docker desktop. You'll probably find there's a few images that have been downloaded, one for Elasticsearch and Postgres database, and then there'll be a few containers. So here you can see it says part 7. Yeah, we're on part 8, so we can change that, of course. But we've got 2 services here, Postgres database, and we've got our Elasticsearch working. So just very quickly, I'll just rename this Elasticsearch. Just makes it easier to understand what container we're building, as that's a container name. That's going to be for e-commerce v2. Okay, so we'll do the same there. All right, so next up, make sure you're in the virtual environment. We'll have a look at the requirements here. So I'm just going to rename this back to requirements from dev requirement. And then I'm just going to run through this, just make sure I've got everything I need. So I know some of these are kind of dependencies that are required for other packages here. So, excuse me. So I'm just going to get rid of the ones I know that isn't needed right a second. I just want to make sure everything is updated. So I'm going to just prune this a little bit, because sometimes I install things and then I forget what I've installed. This is why documentation is important. So I don't need that. MPTT, yep, we're going to need that. And we're using the REST framework. That's all good. Elasticsearch. So Elasticsearch is okay. So if we install Django Elasticsearch, it's going to install those 2. So we don't need that. Package, so we're going to need Pillow. Let's just get the latest version of Pillow. And then we're going to need the Postgres database tool, so we can build a connection from our project to Postgres database. And the rest here, yeah, well, let's go for, I think we've got Django, PyTest Django. That will install PyTest, so that's not a problem. And these will all be installed automatically through installing these others here. So those are the main dependencies or packages that we're using. for this project, if you were wondering about that. So now we've got that on the go. Let's go ahead now and just install these. So pip install -r and then requirements. Oh, there we go. So that's just going to install all the requirements for this project thus far. Okay, so the reason I did that, just to make sure I've got the latest versions, and just to kind of bring you up to speed if you're not following the tutorial from the start, so you know exactly what we're using in this project so far. So now when I go ahead and pip freeze, that should now update this list with everything that's now been installed. Good. So next up is fixtures. So if you go into the demo fixture folder, you will find some fixtures in there. And I've recreated some fixtures because previously on the previous tutorials, we were using fixtures that are like 200, 300 rows. And that's just massively way too large for what we're trying to do now. I was going to go in a different direction with this. So we're just going to slim that down nicely, and I've created some new fixtures. So you should find these fixtures in this part 7 fixture folder, and you can see that it says _50. So I do have some larger fixtures, and there'll be a link in the video description for that. But this basically is just a small scaled or scaled back version of those original fixtures with just 50 items or 50 products. Right, so I haven't tried this out yet, but what you're going to find in the management, there's a management command for this. So let me just quickly update this management command. So we're just basically loading in all of these fixtures. So you can see we've named them here. So this is a management command if you're not familiar with that. So management needs a folder called management, then commands, and then the name of the file or the module is the actual command. So we need to type in Python and then manage.py, and then we can call this new management command demo fixtures. Like I said, I haven't tried this out yet, so I don't know if it's going to work, but let's give this a go. Now, this is only going to work. Remember, we're inserting data now into the database, and that's your database that's running here in Docker. So this should migrate the data over to that. Let's give it a go. Okay, so there's a warning there. We can ignore that warning. And there's a key issue here. Is not present in table inventory, product inventory. Okay, so there's a few things I need to fix. I'll fix it. I'll see you in a second. So I've made a few changes. Now, I wanted to show you this because you may have a similar problem. Now, what's happened here is that potentially we've gone through some of those fixtures and we've actually created that data inside of your database. And the problem is now, if you run this again, it's now not going to update the database and check to see if it already exists, the data. It's going to add to the database. And that can just cause a few issues. So you're best off just closing down the Postgres, just removing the container and just building that again. So pressing up here, you should have the command up again D. So that's just going to build Postgres again. It's going to be a lot quicker this time because the image is already downloaded. You can see that it literally took seconds. And now I can go ahead and try and run my demo fixtures again. So, okay, so we've got inventory, stock, product, inventory. Okay, so I'll just fix this one. So I've made a few changes. Everything is working fine. Your copy of the fixtures should work absolutely fine. They should install nice and cleanly. And let's move on. So now we have some data in the database. Let's just check all this out. Everything should now be working fine. So let's just run the server. Okay. So if you're new to the project, you won't know that we have DRF installed. So we do have some endpoints. So let's just go ahead. Let's just grab one of the products. So go to product fixture. We need the web ID. So we just copy that. And then we go into our browser. So we're looking to run the server. And then I think we've got our endpoint is API/inventory/ and then the ID that we've just copied, the web ID, and that should bring up your product. So that brings up the product. So everything seems to be working absolutely fine. So now we're ready to start. I've copied across the README file from the current or part 8 folder, which should be there. Again, a link in the video description. That should take you to a repository for part 8, which is obviously the completed code sample. inside of there, you should see the README file. So I've just copied that over to this project here. You can see the process that we're going to go through. So first thing then, we're going to focus on Docker. Now, I will provide a timeline for this. So if you're familiar with this, just go ahead and copy the Docker compose file and the Docker file, and then you can move on to the next section if you want to. So just use a video timeline for that. So first step then, let's go ahead and just expand our Docker compose file. We're going to need to build a Docker file as well to set up some of the other instances or containers. So we're going to be Dockerizing everything here. So from our Django project, we're going to need Redis and Celery beat, Flower, just to showcase that you can use this as a management tool to manage your Celery instance, or at least track to see what Celery is doing, and then we'll go ahead and just quickly introduce the Visual Studio Code extension for Docker. So far then, we have a Docker compose file, and you can see that it contains 2 services at the moment, and that's the services that we started at the start of this tutorial. So we're going to need to now expand upon this and add a few more services. So if you are new to Docker, I'm just going to run through this in basic terms. I won't go into too much detail, but I'll give you enough information to understand what it is that we're doing. So first up, we're going to create a Docker container for our application here. So in basic terms, what's happening here is that we want to Dockerize this folder part 7 here. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to run our application inside of a Docker container, so that all the containers can nicely work together within Docker. That's really our primary goal here. So we're going to set it up inside of Docker. So that would be potentially our environment that we're going to be utilizing and applying to our server when we deploy this. So it kind of makes sense for a lot of reasons to actually work within Docker. So that's the first step that we're going to take. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to call this service web or Django, and then we're going to say restart always, because if something fails, we want to make sure that it tries to restart, because it's a mandatory or core part of our setup, having Django, of course. So I'm going to give this a name. So I'm just going to call this web. Everything's going to be e-commerce version 2. So this is my web, or I can call this Django, or in this case, it's going to be our API. So whatever you want to call that, as that's the container name, and then build. So build, there's a few ways we can do this. I'm just going to do it this way. Build context 0, or dot, sorry. So in a second, we're going to be building a Docker file. So the whole point here is that in order to set up this container, we're going to need to know a few things. What environment we want to use, for example. What are some of the setup procedures that we need to follow in order to get this Django project working within this container? So again, if you are completely new to Docker and containers, let's just think of it a container at the moment as an individual computer, if you like. And what we need to do is we need to install Django onto that individual container, that computer. That must have some sort of operating system. Again, I'm just generalizing. And so we're going to need Python installed, and then we're going to then need to run Django within that kind of container, that computer, if you like. So we're going to need to give it some additional instructions, and those instructions are going to come from the Docker file that we're going to build shortly. And this is just referring to it. So remember, the dot is just referring to this directory. That's where you're going to find it. Right, so next up then, let's go for a command. So what's going to happen when we build this container, we're then going to just go ahead and actually run, we're going to run the server automatically. So Django is just going to be running on that server. So 000, and then 8000, and then volumes. So next up then, volumes. So what we want to have is our Docker containers running Django here, but we want to be able to work with it. So we are going to be running Docker within this container. So when we go to our browser, it will be running from this version of Docker here. So we won't be running Django anymore from the command prompt here and locally. We're going to be running exclusively from a Docker container. So that container is essentially just going to be available through this volume. So we're going to set up a volume and map across the place where Django is installed on that container to this folder here. So anything we change here will change the container too. And that's essentially what a volume is. So we're going to say dot this folder here, all the part 7 folder. We want to basically mirror that, if you like, over to this folder that's on the server, or sorry, in the container, src app. So that's where it's going to be installed or stored. All of these files are copied across to in the container, and we're just going to be able to access them. And we're literally going to be able to just mirror across. So anything we change here will change the container. Anything we do in the container will change the files we've got here. Okay, so we're going to need some ports open so we can access it, for example. So we know that the server is going to be running on port 8000. So we're just basically making that port available so that any traffic we send on our local machines at port 8000 is going to go to port 8000 in our container. And that way then we can build that connection into the container. And then we can say depends on. So this is going to be depends on. So that basically means that this service depends on other services to be running. One of them is going to be Redis. One of them is going to be the Postgres database. So without these services, this service won't run. So it's going to try and start these services when this service runs. That's not technically true, but that's the general idea. So that's pretty much all that we're going to need at this point. Again, this is just a baseline build, if you like, at this point. We could add more here. So we'll do the Docker file in a second. Let's just build up our services that we're going to need. So let's now go ahead and create a Redis server. This is really simple. So Redis is basically going to be where we're going to be sending signals or tasks to, and then that's going to then distribute it out to our Celery servers and to actually then perform the activity. So it's basically, if you're completely new to Redis, it's basically a way of managing messages over to the workers, the Redis, to the Celery workers, so that it can perform activities. So let's just give this a container name like we did previously. Let's just call this Redis E-commerce v2, and then restart. Again, without this service, nothing's going to work probably. So let's just do always, and then image. So an image, what is an image? Again, if you're new to Docker, let's just describe it as an image as like a Windows CD back in the days. If you want to install Windows, it comes on a CD. You plug that CD in, and then it loads up Windows onto your hard drive. So think of an image as your CD that's going to load up your operating system and everything that's needed in order to get a container ready so that you can start installing your services on. So we're going to install Redis Alpine, which is a kind of a slimline version of basically a Linux distribution, which will have all and everything set up ready to run Redis, including the Redis service. So with that in place, we'll go ahead and add some ports. So let's open up port 6379 to 6379. So again, we're just passing like we did before, opening the ports, making them available. I seem to have got two different styles here, with and without the speech, the quotes, double quotes. So let's just be consistent there. And yeah, that's it. We could add a volume for this, but I don't feel as though that's necessary for this tutorial. We're not going to be doing anything special with it. So that's pretty much Redis sorted. Now, it's always advisable to do one at a time and get it up and running. So we've added 2 here. So let's just see if this is working, because it can cause more issues than it needs to if we try and do too much at once. So let's just use the previous command here, compose up. So that's going to find the new services. You can see it's going to download the Redis Alpine image and then start Redis. And then in addition to that, you can see it does fail. So the reason why that fails is because we haven't actually built, if you remember, our Docker file for the reference here, the context here. So it doesn't know how to build this container. That's the issue. So let's go ahead and build this. So this is going to be a Docker file. So no file extension, just Docker file. you can see that gets picked up as a Docker file. So let's go ahead and say, basically, we're going to set the parameters to build up our Django container. So let's say from Python, I know 3.10 Alpine. Yeah. Okay, so this is the version of Python we're going to essentially install onto this container. And then we're going to set up a work directory. So that's going to be, you saw that earlier, that was user src and then app. You can put whatever you want, but that's where we're going to actually copy all of this across and work from inside of the container. And then we've got some environments. So Python don't write, don't write bytecode. We'll set that to 1. And then we'll set the Python unbuffered to 1. Just 1E there. Okay, so those are some environment variables that's worth reading about. Essentially with the second one here, we're just making the output available, I think, in the console. So then let's go ahead and we'll run some things. Now we are going to be using Pillow, so there's a few things off the top of my head I think that we need to install in order to get Pillow running with this. So some additional tools that's going to be needed, because what we're doing here, Alpine is a slim version of a build. It doesn't necessarily contain everything you would if you were to install a full operating system, for example. So there's just a few packages that we're going to need to install. So we're going to add, so this is a command we're going to run. I think I could be wrong, but I reckon we're going to need a few things. So some of these things probably we don't need. Okay, but I think that's pretty much where we need to go, because we're going to want to run Pillow. Right, so with that in place, let's go ahead now and run pip install. So what's happening now then, in the container, we're going to run pip install. Let's do an upgrade to make sure we're using the latest version. And then we will then copy, we'll copy the requirements text over, and that needs to go into the user /src was it app? That was the directory that we're using, and then inside of there, requirements.text. So we're going to copy that across to the server, and then what we're going to do is then we're going to then run pip install -r requirements.text. So we're literally just installing, if you like, the operating system, setting up some environment variables to make it play nice, making sure that we've got all the packages, additional packages that we need, dependencies that we need to install all of our requirements. And then we're going to copy over the requirements text. That's why we built it here. Remember, that's what we did at the start. That has all the dependencies and things that we're going to need to get this service running. And then it's going to install it. And because we've already copying across everything from this volume, or copying everything over here to the Docker container, we don't need to specify we need to copy all this across to our container. It's just going to do that by setting this up here. So just make sure you've got the right directory here, and that's aligned up with everything else. So you can see that we've set it here as a work directory, and then here we've copied across the requirements text. So that's literally it for this file. And what this is going to be used for is for the other containers that are going to need to be set up. One's going to be your Django container, the second's going to be Celery, and then Celery B, all going to be utilizing this Docker file. So let's just try this again, the build. So docker compose upd, we could use the build. Right, so the build's failed again. Docker file, no such file or directory. Okay. Failed to read Docker file open. Okay, let's take a look. So where's our Docker file? Okay, the Docker file is in the wrong place, that's why. So let's move it here in the right directory. Let's do that again. And this time Everything seems to be building nicely. So you can see we're downloading our images. That's going to take a few seconds. Now we're running the command to install the dependencies for Pillow. And then next up, obviously, we're going to then run pip upgrade and then install the requirements. So that looks good. Let's go back and you can now see we're running 4 containers. One for the web, one for Redis, one for a Postgres database, and one for Elasticsearch. So let's just finish this off. So next up then, let's just create an entry for Celery. So what we're going to need for Celery, essentially Celery is going to be installed into our Django project. And we basically want to make a copy of this project into another container and then run Celery within that container. That's going to be connected to Redis, so on and so forth. So let's just give this a name. Let's just call this Celery E-commerce. So we're just preparing this. We won't start this. We won't start this up until we've installed everything else that we need. So it's going to be a very similar kind of setup to what you saw with the web. So that's just going to be dot, and then we're going to run the command that's going to start the Celery worker. So Celery e-commerce worker. So just a basic setup. If you're more interested in this and you want to have a look at a basic setup on the Celery website, then this is the command you're going to utilize. If you do go onto the website, you might find that it's not working at the moment. If you just head over to the Celery GitHub repository, in the comments, some people have kind of made a new website because I think there's an issue with the DNS at the moment as of recording this. So debug equals 1. So just a few different parameters here. We're going to need to set the Celery broker. That's going to be Redis. So we're going to name it. Redis is the name of the service. So because we're working in Docker containers, we can call it by its service name. So Redis, and then Redis is running on 6.3.7.9. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and also define the Celery backend equals Redis 6.3.7.9.0. Okay, so this depends on, and then we can say it depends on Redis, and then we can also then, if we like, set up a volume for this. Probably not going to need this, but let's give this a go. So dot user dot src app. There we go. Oh, so we are going to need a volume. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, we're going to copy all of this across to our server. That's why we need a volume here. Apologies. I was thinking ahead there. So that's Celery done. And then finally, then let's just go for beat. So be careful here with your indentation. It is important. Otherwise it won't work, like you might imagine. So we're going to now do beat. So this is pretty much the same. So it's quicker just to copy this and then do a bit of that. And then let's call this Celery. Let's call this Celery beat. And then always build context Celery. So here it's slightly different. So in our beat, we're going to say not worker, it's going to be beat. E-commerce, yep. And then we don't need our environments. Depends on Redis and Celery. And then volumes, same again. Right, so that's that. So there is an additional, I'll just introduce it. You may already be aware of Flower. So we can also install Flower. That's going to give us some information about Celery, the statistics about what's run, tasks that have been run, that haven't run, and so on. So let's just call this Flower e-commerce. The image is going to be mher flower, I think. slash flower. Yeah. And so that's where the image is coming from. And then we set up an environment. And that's going to be the Celery broker URL. Yeah, Redis. And then same again, Redis colon for the port 6379. That's the default port. Yeah, so we can add some ports for this. Now because, yeah, well, let's just add some ports. So 8888, the default port. So we just map that across and there we go. So that's pretty much everything in our Docker Compose file and the Docker file completed. So like I said, I'm not going to run that just yet because we haven't actually installed and got all the packages ready to copy across. So it's not going to work anyway. So at the moment, I'm just going to just highlight that, comment that out, sorry, just for a second, and then just move on to the next thing. So that's pretty much all that done. So we've been set up all the configuration that we're going to be utilizing for all these different services. So the next thing we're going to chat about, and we will come back to this obviously and see it working, is Visual Studio Code extensions for Docker. So if you go into your extensions list and then just type in Docker and find the official Docker extension here, or from Microsoft at least. So this is something that I've installed. So it's pretty handy. If you are new to Docker, you're not used to the commands, etc., this is going to be really handy. Makes your life a lot easier to work with Docker, at least to begin with. So once you've installed that, what you're going to find here is a nice little icon, a Docker icon. And you can see here, and you have access to all of the images and the containers that are running. And what's really handy here is if you want to work within a container, instead of you having to remember the commands on how to get into the container from the command line, you can just go ahead and right click and you can attach a shell, for example, or you can view the logs. So your logs is going to be what you're familiar with when you run the server. It's going to tell you about your, all the information about the server, as you would do when you run the server from your command line. And then in addition to that, you then also have a console, the shell. So that's going to produce a new shell here, which is then going to give you access to the container shell. So from here, we can see all the files that are currently on that container, and we can run some commands like we would do normally in our local environment. So that's going to give you access to that, and that's going to be useful. That's how we're going to access our containers later and do some diagnostics and start the server and so on. So that's how we're working. So we're now working, if you like, inside of the container. So the files are still local. We can still back them up and do everything that we need to do. We haven't started thinking about source control yet, but that's all there, and locally and also in a container. So more of that as we move through, but that's pretty much that sorted. Right, so in addition to that, what we can also do, let's go ahead and create a new file. We should have did this previously, actually. So we're going to have a Docker, like if you're familiar, git ignore, a Docker ignore file. Ignore, yep. So a Docker ignore file, exactly that, is going to ignore certain files. So what's happening here in your Docker file is, your Docker Compose file is basically just mirroring everything across from this folder. And there might be some things you don't want to copy across. So essentially that's what your Docker ignore can be utilized for. So for example, we wouldn't necessarily want to copy across our PyTest cache file, or Python cache. Oh god, that's thinking ahead again. And then if you had a event folder, maybe that's something you wouldn't want to copy across, and then maybe you didn't want a README file also sent across. So that just gives you a little bit more control over what files are in or copied across or copied from or mirrored across from your folder to your container. So what you can do with a final check, because remember, as soon as you start that container, your web container, it will start to run Django. So what we can do is just test that out and see if it's actually working. And you can see that it's not working. So let's just try and work this out a little bit. Am I in the right place? That's always a good place. So let's just go for the root to begin with. So it doesn't look like we can access it. Now you can see that the web server is running. It's on port 8000. So there shouldn't be any particular reason why it's not working. So we can restart it, give that a go, see if that works. So it doesn't look like that's working. So at this point, let's open the shell again. So let's go into here. We're going to go into our web and then view the logs. So we'll go ahead and do that. And that's going to give us some information here. So it says connection refused. Is the server running on host 127.0.1 and accepting TCP/IP connections? So you can see here it says, yeah, could not connect to server. Something couldn't connect to the server. So the reason why that is because it says it's the Postgres database. This is the issue. So what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to set this up in a way that allows us to actually connect our container version of Django, to connect it up to our Postgres database container. We need to build that connection now. And the problem we have here is if we go into our project, into settings, apologies for these windows, God. In our settings, at the bottom here, we have our database connection configuration. And at the moment, it just doesn't know what that is in our container. Because remember, this is running on the container. So it just isn't able at this minute with this configuration to actually connect to the database. So we're going to need to change that slightly. So this is really simple, really, to change. All we need to do here, we're going to utilize the service name again for this. So let's go ahead and change that. I was stalling there because I was trying to remember what I needed to do. Yeah, so it's just a host, PG GB. That's all we need to do at this point, I think. Yeah, so we've changed that. Now, remember what's happening here, and this is good for those who are new. This is going to update also. Remember, we're working locally here, but this is going to update the server. So if we go back into here, it still says there's an issue, which is not a problem because what's probably going to be needed is we need to restart. So we can do that in two ways now. We can restart it right here, boom, or we can go into the Docker desktop and do that, but we just restarted it there. So let's open up view the logs, and you can see that everything now is running. Wonderful. So if we go back into our browser and run it, everything is absolutely fine. So let's just go back to our endpoint again. It looks like that's working still. And now Django is running from the container. If you are new to this type of setup, by all means, just have a little play around and familiarize yourself with what we're doing here, particularly the viewing the logs, attaching the shell so we have access directly in the container, and just get into the idea that now Django is actually in the container. We need to work from it if we want to manage it within the container. However, we can still do things locally because we're mirroring the folder structure from our machine over to the container. Now, one thing to kind of get your mind around is that when we start to install a new service, if we install it here, remember we are installing it in our virtual machine locally. So that isn't going to install it in the container. So we need to be careful. That's pretty much the one thing that we need to be, first of all, thinking about when we start to install new services. Remember that the service isn't going to be installed onto the container unless we update the requirements file and send that across and restart the whole thing again, or we go into the web, go into the shell and actually do a pip install there as well. So that's what we need to be careful of. So that can get a little bit messy because we install it maybe on our local machine in the vent folder, and then we go ahead and do it on the server. And that can cause some inconsistencies. So I like to strip it back. If I'm going to install some new services, which we're going to do next, I think, or shortly, I always remove everything from Docker and then start fresh. So get it installed in the locally, get it in my requirements file, and then run Docker again to build the new image. And we need to be careful when we're doing that, again, if you're new to Docker, because remember these images that might be set up in a particular way and that we've predefined already, and that image is already created. So sometimes we may need to kind of delete this bit here because it may have some settings that we want to override. So we can kind of remove that, make the image again, then that makes the container with the new code. Okay, so next up then, databases. Let's talk databases. Before we go into the new database models that we're going to be building, let's just go through validators and do some refactoring on the existing model. And that is going to be the e-commerce inventory model. So let's go ahead and do that. Right, so go into inventory models, and there's just a few different additions or just a few different changes we want to make. And that's going to be within the product inventory table. So head down to the product inventory table. I think it's 918, roughly. Okay, so here then, we're going to have a think about what we're going to need to do here. So one thing that we're going to change, first of all, is the sale price. So the sale price is one of the fields here in this table. We're just going to remove this. So that's not going to be needed anymore. So that's one thing. And is on sale, we're not going to utilize that either. So we're going to work out whether something is on sale by connecting that to promotions using a many-to-many link. So we're going to utilize that. So we're not going to have that anymore. I think those are the two biggest changes we've got there. In addition to that, just talking about validators. So if we go into the price here, I'm just going to get rid of this error message it's just not needed. It's just to really just showcase you could do that. Right, so what we're going to do here then, first of all, change the max digits. So at the moment, max digits is 5, including the 2 decimal places. So you can only have a maximum of £999. So maybe in your store, you want to have thousands of products worth thousands of pounds. So I've just changed the max digits for the maximum kind of price you can build. Max digits being the amount of numbers we can store in this field. So let's just add a validator. So this is really simple. It's just called validators. So you may not have utilized it before. It'd be worth checking out the documentation. There's different validators we can use. So here I'm going to use the min value validator. And then I'm going to define decimal because I'm saving it as a decimal file format or type, sorry. File format, when I get that from type. So I'm going to say that the minimum value a product should have is 0.01. So that's the minimum that can be applied. And that's also going to prevent anyone from having negative numbers. So we can't put minus £10 now into this field. Right, so because I've done that, we're going to need to bring in those tools. Here it's already kind of set up, so I can just right click or just hover over, sorry. Oh, there isn't. Okay, so we go to the top and we're just bringing those tools in. So from decimal, let's import decimal. And then in addition to that, we also have from Django core validators. Okay, let's import the min value, not length, the min value validator. Right, so in addition to that, we do have, if you go into your requirements, we have black. So if you're interested in that, I'm just going to make a new folder on the root for VS Code. So I've just got a snippet of code and I just do it this way. I know there's different ways of doing this, but inside of this file, I'm going to make a new file called settings. Just stuck in my ways. I could just set up in Visual Studio Code. So inside of here, I've just got a bit of code that I'm just going to bring in, and that's just going to run black. Every time I save, although I've got auto save, it's just going to run black and do a bit of formatting. So I'm using line length 119. You can change that to 79 if you like, or anything that you feel is suitable for you. And that's basically just going to change and run black, which is a formatter, a code formatter. It's going to do exactly this here. And there we go. So it tries to format my code and follow the PEP 8 guidelines. So that keeps my code nice and clean. So I think that's pretty much everything here. So because we've made some changes, let's go ahead now and migrate. Now, again, we've got a similar problem here in that if we go to the traditional route of open up our terminal locally, because we're still working locally, aren't we? We've still got our files here. If we go ahead and try and migrate, and we can't do that because remember what's happened now in our settings. We've configured it to be to connect Django with Postgres database through our containers, and that can't be done now locally here. So in actual fact, this command, the migration command, and this is what happens if you do it, that needs to be done now in the shell. So however you get into the shell, so I'm going to the web container here. This is Docker add-on here, extension. So I'm going to attach a shell, and this opens up. And now I'm inside of Docker. So let's go ahead and Python manage.py and then make migrations. Now the migrations, I think I've already done that because I did it previously just to show that other screen. So migrate, so we can now go ahead and migrate and everything is fine. So the migrations have to be done at this point with this setting over on the container, and you need to access that through the shell. So again, you could just type in the command needed here to access the shell for that, but this is a convenient way for new developers to access the shell of your container. Okay, so this is the plan. This is the previous database. We've extended it at the bottom here. So just to quickly, briefly take you through this, we're not going to follow any particular plan here. This is just something that I've developed for this purpose. Now, this is partly developed through the fact that going through that process we did in the first tutorial, thinking about the process that we took to build the original tables, we are using those skills. But in addition to that, we have some very specific requirements, scope for this promotion app. And we also need to think about that our business requirements when we're building a database. It's not always straightforward just a refactoring based upon traditional approaches. And we also need to think about our business requirements and how that's going to fit into saving data. And I've tried to fit that idea in here by utilizing this many-to-many table and then adding some additional fields. So let's take a look here. So we've got the main promotion table. That's going to store the ID. That's just going to be automatically generated. So we've got the name of the promotion. That might be useful in the description if we need it at some point. Obviously, it describes what type of promotion we're going to be running and might be utilized somewhere in the site or for advertising or something like that. So you might want to extend that if you're going to utilize it in different ways in your project. So in addition to that, we have the connection. So what I'm saying here is that for one product in our product inventory, it might be associated to many promotions. So it might not. You might just go for a one-to-one. So one product is part of one promotion. But I'm thinking if you're going to build a promotion and set different times, it will mean that potentially one product will be part of multiple promotions. In addition to that, you might also have a case where a coupon is also available for a product, but the product is also on general sale. So in my opinion, one product is going to be associated to many promotions. So one to many. And then if we look from promotions, so one promotion is going to be connected to many products. So because we have a one to many and a one to many back, we now have a many to connection. So here we have our many to many table, our intermediate table here to connect this up. And you can see what we've done here. Traditionally, this would be automatically created by Django if we did set up a many connection. from the promotion to the inventory table, but we're going to set this up manually because we want to add some additional fields. So we're going to include the promotion price inside of this table. In addition to that, we're going to have a Boolean field for price override, because that was part of the scope. We needed to allow the user to override the product. So if the product is flagged as override, it means that the update tool, where it checks to make sure the products are correctly priced, it will kind of overlook it because that's been flagged. That particular row has been flagged as override, so we just ignore it. So there's real reasons to include this in a business sense, or in the sense of how the system is going to run and our needs of the system. And then we've got the promotion ID, and that's going to be a foreign key to promotion. And then we got the product key, foreign key over to the product inventory table. So the first three are kind of automatically required in this situation. And then we've got the two, which makes business sense, and how the system is going to work is like I explained there. And we'll see that as we go along, that's also going to be needed. So there's a few pros and cons with this approach. One, for example, if you've got 200,000 products and then you put them on a promotion, you now have 200,000 product or entries inside of here, and that's just one promotion. So something that I haven't tackled in this tutorial is thinking about, if we do have a promotion set for all products, then should we have an entry for that? Now we're kind of forced with that here, because my thinking is I want to, and like one of the specifications suggested, if we go into them here. So one of the specifications, I think, it says promotion of, here we got promotion prices, specify, where are we? Promotion prices must be auditable over multiple promotions. So we're going to need some way of like managing previous prices. Now, the problem I saw with having the price here is that if we have a promotion and the price is inside the product inventory table, that's tricky, because if you've got two promotions running, one coupon, or two promotions running, then how would you define what price it would be? So you'd almost need two prices based upon the promotion they're accessing. So just think about it long term down the road. This solution does fit in with our requirements, but potentially this is going to be quite a large table, and that's something that maybe we can tackle again later. But for now, I think we're going to run with this and see how we get on with potentially changing it. And it depends on your situation. If you know you've got sales that are kind of always going to be always going to be maybe not unique to certain products, is always going to be kind of store wide, then maybe this isn't the approach to take. In which case maybe a different approach would be required. But here we're going to try and make it dynamic so that we can select products that we want to put on promotion and have multiple types of promotions. And then finally, we are going to provide a mechanism to allow us to apply coupons as a type of promotion. So we have a foreign key here, which is going to potentially be null in certain cases. So when the promotion doesn't have a coupon, that will be null. Otherwise, that would then be connected to a coupon. I think there's a little bit more expansion here to be had, depending on how coupons will be applied. And coupons, again, is something that we need to set up. And I think, like I've said, will be applied at the checkout, rather it being connected maybe to products. But in this setup, it can be connected to certain products. And just saying that, because think more globally about this, coupon may be a global coupon. So a 10% off your purchase, for example, in which case we don't need to necessarily connect that to any products. So this setup will handle that. And then in addition to that, we can also then connect this coupon to particular products. So in this instance, we are going to go ahead and build a database first, and then think a little bit about testing. So let's go ahead first of all, and we're going to build a new folder here. So let's call this promotion. So that's going to be our new app, and let's go ahead and build a new app inside of there. So we're going to need, so we're working locally here to build this new app. That's not a problem at all. It's going to be mirrored across to the container. So Python 3 manage.py and then start app, and that's going to go into the e-commerce well, let's give it a name first, promotion. So that's the name of the app, and then we're going to put that into e-commerce and e-commerce/promotion. Okay, so you just need to make sure you know where you are. So I typed in ls here. That shows me exactly where I am, because remember, the root directory essentially is where the event folder is, and we've gone inside of the part 7 folder. So just be careful of that. So we now have our new app. Let's just go straight to the models. We know what we're going to be building, so let's just go ahead and build this up. So we're first of all going to go ahead and build the promo type. The promo type model. So this is for essentially just to start to think about the different types of promotions that we want to apply, and that provides us a way then of adding different logic into our application later on. So depending on what type of promotion, maybe it depends on the behavior of our application. So let's just go from max length 255. So that's pretty much it for the promotion at the moment. So just return self.name. So we aren't going to do that just for now. So self.name, there we go. So next up then, we're going to need the coupon. So that was the second table. So might as well just go ahead and make that models.model. And then we're going to need two things here. That's the name of the coupon, or the name of the type of promotion maybe. Maybe we've got a description here as well. If you want to add in a description. Max length equals 255, and then definitely the coupon code. So we're going to need to obviously record the coupon code. Now, again, this is optional. I'm just going to add a character field for this. So it might be that you have a very specific need. Maybe you have, for example, you already know what type of codes you want to use. Typically, coupon codes are a mixture of letters and numbers, so a character field may be suitable. So you might have a maximum length, and you also might have a default potentially. So that's models. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's a coupon. Right, so next up then is going to be the actual promotion table. So let's class promotion. So here there's a few tables. So we've got name, and that's going to be models character field. Max length is going to be 255, and we're going to set that to unique in this case. So we don't really want the same name promotion, at least in my scenario. I want to make sure that each promotion has a slightly different name. So we're going to set that to true. And then just a description, maybe that will come in handy at some point. So description equals models dot, and that would be a text field. And we say blank equals true. So it might not be that you want to add anything into it. And then we have the promotion reduction. So here in this scenario, the promotion reduction is always going to be a percentage. So we're going to use an integer field for this, a whole number, and then we say the default, set the default to 0. Okay, so now we're doing that. What's happening here, if the user forgets to add a promotion number, it's going to set to 0. So there's no danger here in any errors. It just means the promotion won't have applied any value. Now, if we avoid doing this, it means that this field obviously needs to be completed or entered when we create a promotion. So that kind of enforces people to, if they have forgotten to enter a number, it means that it will prompt the user to enter a number. So up to you what you want to do there. I'm just going to have default equals 0. So there's a few many-to-many keys here we need to think about, but we're just going to skip those for now. Let's just go for is active. So we want to know whether the actual promotion is active or not, and we want a way of kind of manually starting and stopping that, so it is active. And then we also want to tell the system or have a way of identifying whether the user has set this manually or whether it should be up to in this case Celery to trigger the promotion to start and to stop it. So this is where and how the promotion will be able to be configured manually through is active, and setting is scheduled to false, and that means it's just going to be user controlled, and Celery won't be able to start and stop it. So that's, and again, another Boolean, we set the default to false. Okay, so then we need some sort of way of scheduling. So promotion start equals model dot, we're just going to use a date field here, so not a date time field. So in this particular scenario, I'm not going to allow the user to set a specific time. It's just going to be a general time. And obviously that is something that you might want to change because you might want to set it up at certain times. Here I'm going on the premise that if I'm going to set up this system, it's going to be quite large. I'm not going to want to, on the fly, kind of turn on a promotion at 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. Typically, everything works the next day. So typically there might be some sort of period in the middle of a night where it's not busy, where the system goes into some sort of phase where it does all its updates, etc. Maybe it closes the service for a couple of minutes, updates, and then comes back online. And that's going to happen, like I said, early in the morning when the system isn't necessarily being used, or at a point in the day when it's not being used. Or there aren't many customers, that's what I mean. So hopefully you get the idea there. So it's just going to be a date field here. And then that's going to be the same for the promo end equals models dot date field. Right, so with that in place, we need to make sure, let's just think about one thing here. Now, the promotion start should always be before the promotion end. So we need to do some sort of validation here. So I'm going to use def clean. So what that is basically going to, on save, it's going to perform this action. So we're going to say if self dot, and this is one way of, maybe a few ways this can be done. Promotion dot start is more than self dot. Even though we're using dates, we can still use more than, less than. So if the start date is further ahead in time than the end date, then we want to kind of raise an error. That's what we're going to do. So that's going to be a validation error. And that might need to be translated. So we'll go ahead and add all that in. That's the format I'm using there. End date before the start date. Oh no, start date. There we go. So let's go ahead and bring in the validation. It should be a capital. Let's bring in the validation. Remember, it's a class. So now we can right click in, because I've got the Django extension. I think it's provided me an easy, quick way of doing that. So I can quickly click there, and it's brought in the validation errors. Now that's actually incorrect. So I want it from the Django.core exceptions. Let's just bring it in from there. Validation error. And then in addition to that, we are using, or we potentially want to translate that. So there are a few different tutorials on the channel showing you a little bit more about this, but from Django.utils, I keep telling myself that I want to make this multilingual and kind of set that up properly. So this is kind of just forcing me to think about that and reminding me that I want to do that. So we're bringing that in, the translation tools. So this can be translatable. That might be important. And yeah, okay. So that's pretty much what we got there. And then let's just go off and finish off the string. And then we just need to think about the foreign keys, the dependencies, the relationships. Okay, so 3 things missing here then. Let's just go back to, where are we? Let's go back to here. So you can see that we've got a connection here. We've got a foreign key, sorry, from coupon is a foreign key over to coupon and the promo type. So 2 foreign keys need to be developed. So what you might find is that some choose to put the foreign keys and relationships at the bottom here and clearly distinguish between the foreign key, the relationship fields, and the other fields in the table. So let's go ahead and do it that way. So we've got a foreign key to the promo type equals model dot foreign key. So that's going to be to the promo type table related. Give this a related name to maybe make it easy to work with. The relationship promo type, and then on delete. So I think I did. Yeah, I did. I made a recent video from this video. If you have a look at the video timeline on the channel, I spoke a little bit more about this on delete, all the different options. So if you're interested in that, for now, I'm going to type in protect. So I'm going to use protect. So that means that if someone deletes a promotion, where are we? Promotion, yeah, type, it doesn't mean that the actual promotion will then be deleted, the related field in this table. And that's just how I want to set up for now, because yeah, I think that's just a safe way of doing that for now. So we're going to need a comma. It's handy. You can see that if you're not used Visual Studio Code often, this red line here, wiggly line, is telling me there's something wrong here. That's just indicating that something is wrong. So as soon as I've got the right syntax there, you can see that is removed. Right, so that's pretty much the promo type foreign key. So let's go ahead and now do the coupon. Nice and simple. So same again, models.foreign key. I'm going to set this to protect again. Related name, coupon. And then on delete equals models.protect. Right, so this one, if you remember, I said that not all promotions will have coupons. And that's important. So we need to say null equals true. So we can set this as null and then also say blank equals true. Okay, so that pretty much sets that one up. And that just leaves us now with this many-to-many. I mean, yeah, many-to-many. So like I said before, we have one inventory item related to many promotions. It might be part of many promotions. And one promotion might be including many products. So therefore, we have a many-to-many relationship. So we're going to set this up manually, this product promo table, so that we can add some additional fields. We could let Django do it automatically for us by defining a many table here, for example, field, sorry, in the promotion table. But we're going to set this up manually because we want to add some additional fields. So let's go and do that. So let's first of all create a new table. So I'm going to call this class products in or on promotion. So let's call it on promotion models.model. And then we're going to need a few things. So we're going to need the foreign key over to the inventory table. So call that ID equals model.foreign key. Oh, and we're going to need to bring in the product inventory. Table. So we're going to need to bring that in a second. Related name. Let's call that something crazy like product related name, product inventory on promotion. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's the related name, and then on delete, because it's a foreign key, equals, we're going to say models.protect. So why protect it? Well, because if, for example, we were to delete one of the products, we don't necessarily want to then have the promotion. Yeah, wow, that's a good point. It would delete the individual record for that particular. So maybe Cascade is going to be useful here. Now, but then I think to myself, okay, Cascade, because then if the product is deleted, then the item here in this product promotion will get deleted, and then there won't be any issues. But the thing is, if I wanted to audit the system still, I want to kind of keep that information. So it would be better maybe for me to actually just turn off the product rather than delete the product. So just a few things to think about. It depends ultimately how, in long term, how your system is going to work. I'm just going to have protect for now. And I think that's a much more positive way of working to protect the data for now. And that can be easily changed later on. It's not something that is going to really be an issue, but that's just more things I need to think about. And obviously at this point, the more you understand what it is you want to achieve and how the system works in general, it makes it easy for you to develop, of course. And here I'm just sitting on the fence because I'm not too sure exactly what's going to be happening in the long term. Right, so that's product inventory. I think we're done with that. So let's move on to the promotion ID. Equals models.foreign key. So here we're going to have that connected to promotion. This related name equals promotion. Remember, these related names are going to be only one instance of it. Oh, I want to turn this off. On delete, equals models.cascade. Okay, so promotion. So if we delete the promotion, I'm kind of contradicting myself now and saying, well, we can just cascade. So we can just get rid of all the products. If the promotion isn't active, then we can get rid of all the products. So we're just going to cascade. Right. So next up, we've got the price. So I've decided to put the promo price here. So just, I think maybe logically it places everything related to the promotion in terms of the products in the same place. And I mean, where else would you put it? So this is going to be a decimal field. So let's find the max digits. So it's going to be 10. And then decimal places. Yep, equals 2. Because we're working with money here, you might have different setup. So the default equals, so we'll set a default and we'll put a validator like we did previously. So default, and then we go ahead and also bring in the validator. That's going to be the min value validator. Yeah. So that's going to be decimal. There we go. So we just need to bring in those tools. So that was from decimal. Yeah, we got that. And then from Django.core.exceptions. Import validation error. And then the min value. So that's from Django.core.validators import min. Yep. Okay. So I think that was all we needed. So we also need to bring in the table, the product inventory table. So from e-commerce.inventory.models, let's import the product inventory table. There you go. So that hooks that up. So that is our product on promotion table. And I think there's a few else. There's a few other things that we need to do. That's a price override. So we want to be able to allow users to set their own price. So we're going to have a Boolean field here, which is going to indicate the fact that the price has actually been set individually, in this case, by the user, and it shouldn't be changed unless it's changed by the user, of course. So we're going to have an automated process for setting the prices of products. And if this is set to true, then it won't set this particular price for this product that's associated in this row. So class meta, and then we're going to need to say that it's unique together. So because we've got these two foreign keys, we're creating a many-to-many link table, if you like. So we're going to need to create we're going to need to create the two foreign keys need to be unique together. ID promotion ID. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I think there's one last thing that we need to do, and that's actually to set up the many-to-many field in the promotion. So now we've got our many-to-many table here, or link table. Well, let's go ahead and just add that in. So I'll pop it right here. So this is going to be products on promotion. That equals a many-to-many field. So that's going to be linked to the product inventory table. So yeah, so we're building a many-to-many table here. We're going to link it and say many-to-many to this table here. And like I said before, Django would automatically create this table, but we've just manually created this table so that we can add some new fields. So we're going to say related name. That's going to equal products on promotion. And then we need to define a through table. And that's a table that we just created. And that's the products on promotion table. So that's our through table. That's our link table in this many-to-many connection. And there we go. So that pretty much finishes things up. You can see that if you use this over here, you can see that there's different colors. So I made a mistake here, and you can see that there's a yellow dot here on the side. You can just about see that on your screen. It's a little bit that's better. You can see the yellow dot. That's indicating where there potentially is a code error of some sort. So that's really kind of handy if you haven't started using that or you haven't seen that. That's going to give you some indications, particularly to typos like that. So just going back to our plan then, we've now added the models. So that's pretty much everything we're going to need there. So now we can talk a little bit about testing. So at this stage, we do already have our testing framework set up, and you would have to look at the previous tutorial to have a look how we did that. So not the previous one where we go through Django Ninja, the previous one before that, where we just summarize the whole project to this point. I go through every single step. So we are just building from what we have already. And here we have a PyTest set up. What we've got here is a pytest.ini file for some settings. And then we have the conf test file. And that basically just brings in all the items, in this case, fixtures, before we start testing. So this will be run before we start testing. So that kind of initiates all of our fixtures and ready for us to run some tests. And you can see that we have this test folder here in the e-commerce directory. And inside of here is our fixtures and our API client setup. And that then is more resources that we can utilize to run tests. So the idea here is that our fixtures are basically data that we're going to put into the test database before we run a test. Remember that we're not actually using the real database to run tests, we're building a test database. That will automatically get created when we run a test and then closed down. So let's go ahead now and just build some simple tests to test out everything we've done so far. We're going to create a new file here. I've separated the fixtures up. Maybe you want to put them into one file, but I'm just going to call this .py. Yeah. Okay, so that's my promotion fixtures. So I need some fixtures. So remember, fixtures are basically data that we're going to insert into the test database so we can run some tests. So we are going to need data in our database. So this is my tables and my fields. So I just need to test or create some fixtures for it. So let's start off then by creating the category, the promo type, sorry, and coupon fixtures. So for this, just something simple, I think, to begin with. So let's import PyTest to begin with, and then let's use the PyTest.fixture decorator here. So we're going to create a single promotion type. So a promotion is going to be connected to some sort of promotion type, and you can choose whatever your promotion type might be. So I'm bringing in DB being the database. It's going to need database connection or access. Promotion. So promotion type equals promo type dot objects dot create. So we're just going to create a simple row in my database, test database that is. I'm just going to call this default, and there we go. So obviously we need access to promo. So from e-commerce promotion dot models, let's import the promo type. We might as well just import everything else we're going to need at this point. While we're here, coupon and promotion. It's about wrong. And promotion. There we go. Yeah, that's what we're going to need ultimately from the models. So that's going to save a new promotion type called default. And then we'll just return that back to the test so it can access it if it needs promotion type. There we go. So next fixture then is going to be our, I don't know what that noise is. Some building outside, apologies. So we'll just move on. We'll just keep going, sorry. So PyTest fixtures for the coupon. So def coupon, that's going to be DB. And then we're going to say coupon equals coupon dot objects dot create, and then we'll give that, oh, it needs a name. So I'm just following the fields that are inside of the coupon table. So it's just the name, and then we're going to need the coupon code. So that's going to equal something random, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so that's my fixture for that. And then we can just go ahead and return the coupon. So next up, there's a few different ways of doing this, but we're going to need to build some sort of fixture for the promotion, for the main table here, for this promotion table. So let's just call this promotion. Promotion. Let's call this multi-variant. And that's just indicating the fact that this is going to be utilized for multiple types of promotions. So here we can add a coupon, as well as it being just like a default type of promotion that the user identifies the price and the products. So in here then, what we're going to need here is we're going to need to create the associated products. So we're going to need the products to be able to associate them. So what we're doing here is we're going to set up a promotion using our fixture, and then we're going to then associate that to something in the product inventory table. Now, obviously, we're going to need that table, and we've already set up those fixtures previously. So if we go back into the inventory fixtures, here we have a single subproduct with media down here. Single product with media and attributes. So that just basically sets up all the product tables, etc., and adds some data into it. So we're going to need to bring this in. And now this is going to be accessible from this fixture because we're loading this all up. So inside of our conf test file here, our configuration file, that's going to run before we run any tests. So you can see it's going to load up my inventory fixtures. So therefore, this fixture is going to be available inside of what's going to be here. So e-commerce.test.promotion fixtures. So it's going to be available. So I can just grab that and utilize it. I'm going to need a comma. So that's the configuration file sorted. So let's just put that in there. So that grabs that. I think that's pretty much what we're going to need there. And now we can go ahead and build a new instance. So promotion equals promotion from the promotion table objects.create. So we're going to create a new instance, a new row. So name equals default. So that's the first field. Then what's next? The promo reduction equals, just let's put 50, for example. So that's a reduction as a percentage, don't forget. So is active equals false, and is schedule equals true. So we can overwrite that however we like, but we're going to set this up so that it is going to be schedulable via Celery in this case. And you can see it's not active at the moment, so we can make that active as and when we need to. So promo type equals, and then we're just going to bring in our promo type fixture. Remember that returns a new instance of a new type. That creates a new entry into the promotion table, and then we can just basically use that as a reference to know what we want to connect this promotion to. And we'll do the same thing. Well, we've got the coupon equals coupon. So that's the coupon fixture referring to. And then the promo start, that's going to equal date.today. Just the date, remember, not date time. And then promo end. So what we do here is we say date.today, and then we use the time delta to add a couple of days to it. So time delta, yeah, 5. So that basically is going to take the today's date and just add 5 to it. So 5 extra days. So the start and the end day. Now you can see that that's going to require us to bring all those tools in. So from time date, let's import date and time delta. Okay. Oh, sorry. From date time. Okay. Okay. Right. So those are those tools. What else we're going to need here? Okay. So what we've done so far then, if we've created a new instance in our promotion product inventory table, that's created also, that's triggered all the other fixtures that are associated to that and built everything up. And now we've gone ahead and created a new entry, or we created a fixture, which is going to create a new product in the test table. And we've connected that to coupon and promo type. And now what we need to do is kind of connect everything up. We now need to associate some products in here and the price, etc. So that kind of needs to be done manually here. So we need to add that as an after process in this case. So we're going to create that fixture that you've just seen that's going to create a new entry here. And now we need to update this table afterwards. So that means for us to add a little bit of code here. So we're going to say single sub product equals. So we're going to take this instance here, and remember that's an instance of a product in the product inventory table. Okay, so we're going to need that. So we grab that and make that available, and then we're going to say promotion. So now what we're going to do is update our link table. So products on promotion dot add. So where's that come from? So from the promotion table, we need to look for the promotion on products on promotion field. So let's just go into here. So our many-to-many table is called products on promotion. So we go into the products table. We then go reference the products on promotion field, which is a many-to-many. And now we're going to say add. So now we're in that table. Now we're kind of inside of this table here, reference this table. We now know we want to do something inside of that table, and we want to add something to it. So what we do is we basically just reference the product we want to associate to, and that was from the products inventory fixture that we brought in. And then what we can do is inventory, and then we're going to say through default equals. So here we're going to need to now just add some additional information. So the defaults is basically setting some other fields. So we're going to need to set the other fields, and the other fields that we're going to need to set is promotion price. So the promotion price needs to be set. So we're going to set that as 100. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We literally have gone into this table here. We've gone ahead and made that connection, so to the product inventory table, a particular row or instance, and then we've kind of that gets placed into this table or the connection. So the product ID gets placed here, the promotion ID based on the associated promotion that we've created goes here, and then what we've done is we just added the promotion price. So we've used through defaults equals, and then we've set in our dictionary style here the promo price. So that's going to set the promotion price. Okay, it's a little bit long-winded, but hopefully that makes sense. Okay, if you're not too sure, if you didn't quite see that code, the code's obviously in the repository. So go ahead and just follow that. If you need to, just read through this with Django. Similar to here, if you look for many-to-many, add, those are probably the keywords there. If you want to learn out what's kind of happening here through the documentation, by all means do that. So what's going to happen here then is we need to now return the promotion. And sorry to keep embellishing here, but what we've done now is that we've created a fixture for this table and this table to add some data. We've then used that data as a reference to point our new promotion to it. We've filled in all the other fields with some data, and then we've gone ahead as an additional task to kind of make that connection between the promotion and a product. And then that's completed or filled in this table here in the test database. And then we manually added a price. We don't need price override. That's by default is set to false. So we don't need to specify that explicitly. So now we have a fixture, a set of fixtures. Let's go ahead and build a test. So inside of our test, or let's create a new folder inside of promo here called tests. And let's just get rid of this test file here. So inside of this folder, we're going to create a new test. So let's just think of some names for this. So new file. Let's call this test promotion. So that might change over time. But I'm just going to call this test promotion. Okay, so we're going to need to build a test for this. So from e-commerce.promotion .models, let's import promotion. We're going to need that in a second. Right, so let's create a new test. So we're going to call this test insert single product with What we're doing? So test promotion, single product promotion. Sorry, my brain got ahead of me there. So test single promotion. Okay, so we're going to need some fixtures, and that's the fixture we just built, the promotion variant A list. Okay, so that's the fixture that we're kind of calling here. And remember, that's going to be automatically loaded before you run tests. Now this fixture is calling this fixture here, which is going to then build all those tables and data into a database. And then we go ahead and add some data into our promotion, which inadvertently will put data into the type and coupon tables. So there's data everywhere, right? So now we've done that. Let's go ahead and just test this out. So a very simple test, I think, to begin with. Let's say new promotion equals promotion variant list. So let's just grab the first instance in there. And then let's say get promotion. So what we're doing first of all is here we've basically taken whatever's been entered into the promotion table. We're taking that instance and we're just going to store it here. Again, we can utilize some of that data to test to see what's actually in the database. So let's get the promotion. So what's happened now by running this is we've actually, like I keep saying, we've completely populated the database, the test database. There we go. So we completely populated the test database. So now we can actually test to see if there's actually any data in the test database. So let's say promotion.objects. Remember, we're using the test database here, not the real database. .all. Let's just get like the first item. So that should be, there should only be one item in the database because there's only one promotion, that we've created. And then now we've got everything that we need to assert. So new promotion .id. So the ID, so remember, new promotion refers to this fixture here, the data that we entered. So we're going to grab that data and basically think about it. We're grabbing this data before, we're not, but let's just say we're grabbing this data before we enter into the database. So we're just capturing that data that we're going to enter into a database. And then we're capturing the data that's actually in the database. And then we're just checking to make sure it matches. So get promotion.id. So that is just going to test to make sure everything's set up okay. And we can go one step further and just check maybe the promotion code. So inside of here, I can traverse and go into the coupon fixture and then grab the coupon code that we entered or were going to enter into a database. And then I can go ahead and kind of just check to make sure it is actually there. So get promotion, that's the actual data in the test database. Promotion.coupon actual code. Yep, so go into the database, go traverse over to the coupon table and then have a look at the coupon code field. So we're just going to test to make sure that works okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can see it says no module named e-commerce.test. Where's that? So in my fixtures. So test promotion on fixtures. Okay, up here then. From e-commerce. Oh. Okay, where are we? So it looks like I've just made a mistake somewhere. There's a lot of info here. On the bash. So I'm doing locally, that's important to remember. So I think this is something I'm trying to import. It's just here. So I've missed the S here in the configuration file here. So just make sure that's okay. And let's just do that again. Okay, so promotion type doesn't declare an explicit @ label and isn't in an application installed apps. Oh, that's why, isn't it? Okay, that's a good point. So let's go over to our settings We haven't actually registered our new app, so let's do that. So this is the essence of creating a test. We're testing to make sure everything will work. And the test first approach, obviously this is really helpful. And you can kind of see the essence of this. It's allowing me to discover what I haven't done. If I didn't have any tests, I probably wouldn't know that necessarily. I would obviously when I start running it, but this is going to give me clearer information potentially. So our new app is called promotion. So that's in our settings file. So we need to just update that. So at this point, it shouldn't still work. No module name e-commerce promotion, e-commerce.promotion REST framework. Okay, because I haven't added a comma. Okay, so check that e-commerce promotion.apps.promotion config name is correct. Okay, so that's telling me, this type of problem is telling me that in my apps here, I haven't updated this because we're nesting this inside the e-commerce folder. We need that. Let's just run that again. And there we go. It looks like everything has failed, which is great. So we can see what the problem is here. I can see what the problem is here. So we're working locally here in our bash, in our shell, in our terminal. We're not working from the Docker container. And you can see what the problem is here. It's complaining about Postgres. Because remember what happened before, inside of settings here, we went ahead and changed our database configuration so it can only be accessible via our container. So let's just work from our container. I think that's the thing. So let's go into our shell, into the container. Let's run PyTest from here. Okay, so again, we've got 7 errors. So let's just take a look at what the problem is here. Does not exist. Django cursor, blah. Lots of problems. Okay. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, well, I need to migrate the tables. I've not done that yet. So inside of my container shell, I remember I've got to this. If you remember going into the Docker extension here, I've gone over to web, right-clicked, and attached to shell. Okay, so that's how I've got into the command line of my container. So let's just go ahead now and make migrations. So Python and then make migrations. Okay, and then obviously we're going to need to then migrate. Cool. So now we've migrated. Let's run PyTest again. Okay, so now we've got 5 passed, but we've got 2 errors. This is a much better. So the 2 errors are likely going to be because of the changes that we've made. So let's just take a look at what the issue is. It's not massively clear at this point what the error might be. So let's give it some more room. Okay, so short summary, test product by web ID, error, e-commerce promotion test. So there seems to be 2 errors. So ultimately the problem is here that we've made quite a lot of changes. So we went through this process and we refactored some of the fields. Now it just happens that some of the tests, the previous tests we built, rely on the fields that we initially set in the tables. So here, if you remember, in the products inventory table, we removed the promotion price. And one of our tests actually rely on that. So let's go back into our fixtures. So test fixtures here. And, you've already seen that our fixtures set out what should be defined when we enter that data into our test database. And of course, now we aren't expecting. So in our inventory fixture here, you can see we've got sale price. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. So we need to take that out. So if we take that out of our fixtures, that's just one step that we need to take. And we need to now just double check everything else to make sure that's what is going to be expected. So if I were to run my test again now, it would still fail. So yeah, we've still got a problem. We've still got 2 errors here. So we just need to go a little bit deeper into this and see what the problem is. So if we go into the inventory test, let's have a look at test products. So there's only one test there, test category. Okay, so that's testing of that. And let's go into DRF. Because remember, the problem is now that we've set up a serializer for this data as well in DRF. So let's go into our tests and our products. And let's have a look here. So we've got single product. So here, this test here is testing the getting the inventory by web ID. And you can see that what we did here was we've set out the expected JSON, the expected data that's been returned. And you can see this is very explicit. And one of these items, no doubt, will be is on sale. So we need to kind of get rid of that. I think that's pretty much all we got there. And you can see how deep this starts to come. And this starts hopefully getting into the mindset of how to approach testing. Because at the early stages of a project like this is kind of growing as we go along and it's changing. So you can see that the smallest change we make, there's still quite a lot to do that we have to change in order to get everything back into place. So we've still got an issue here. So is on scale. So product inventory got an unexpected keyword argument is on sale. So we've still got issues here. So we need to try and work out where they are. So let's see if we can do that. So I mentioned the serializers earlier. So by all means, if you do want to, just type in a keyword and flick through the files to find the word sale. So here you can see that this is in the DRF serializer. You can say is on sale was being referenced. So we kind of need to move it from there. And I think that was the last problem for that issue. No, we still got an error. So let's just have another read. So fixture promotion variant list not found. Okay, so that's not a problem. We'll deal with that shortly. Still got an unexpected keyword argument is on sale somewhere. So let's just move up to see where potentially that is coming from. So is on sale is right here. So that's in the PyTest fixture single subproduct. Okay, so let's go back into our fixtures. Inventory fixtures. So let's just find sale. So it looks like there's still an instance there. So that's in the inventory fixtures. So we've also changed that. And so let's go back in and try that. So we're just trying to get down to one error and then we'll fix that. So we still have a problem. So moving up here. This is, of course, where the tutorial really falls down because you're going to try and need to follow this. But what we're trying to find is all the problems for this inventory. Okay, let's go back to the bottom here. So we've got an error here then. Get test inventory web ID and test single promotion. So get test, get inventory by web ID. Okay, so we definitely haven't got that there. That's absolutely fine. So test promotion.py. So there's an issue here somewhere. So let's just comment that out for now. Let's see if we can isolate this one error. Okay, so test get inventory by web ID. Okay, so that test is going to be somewhere, either in inventory. in DRF test. So it's going to be in DRF tests, test product. So we're looking for sale again. So there's some issue here. So this is test get inventory by ID. So get test inventory by web ID. So somewhere in here is the issue. So just reading through this, I've noticed the problem here. So just up here, connection refused. So there's a connection issue. So warning, Elasticsearch, sorry, status, blah, blah, blah. So it looks like the problem is here is Elasticsearch. And then I see here we have get HTTP localhost 9200. And I think that's what the problem is. So the problem is here potentially is Elasticsearch isn't being able to be accessed, because remember what we're trying to do here. If we go into the settings, what we're trying to do here is we're inside the container, of course. So we need to be able to access it from the container. So our Elastic DSL static variable here to connect to Elasticsearch, that I think is the problem. So let's go into thinking mode here a second. So yes, so hosts, we're going to remember this is inside your container. Elasticsearch, there is a container called Elasticsearch. There we go. So we're just going to container. So Elasticsearch underscore e-commerce version 2. So let's just give this a go. Let's give this a go. Elasticsearch e-commerce v2. So I'll change that. Let's see if I can run the tests again. And there we go. So hopefully you followed that. Just to summarize, what we needed to do, we needed to remember that we removed one field. That was it is on sale in the product inventory table. So by doing that, we forgot to update the other tests that we needed. Now, what we should have done was to make that change and run the tests and then carried on. So that was the mistake I made. We should have done it at that point. And at this point, it got a little bit more complicated because of that. So, so we went into DRF and then into the serializer. We changed the serializer. We then went into tests and changed and removed is on sale in the tests that were needed, as well as changing inside of the inventory in the tests. And that wasn't needed actually. Inside the test folder in our fixtures, inventory fixture, we needed to remove tests from there. And then the third problem really was the fact that we couldn't connect to Elasticsearch because we're now working with inside of the containers, and we needed to go into settings and just change the settings. And we've named the container Elasticsearch underscore e-commerce v2. And then we're now using that as the host for Elasticsearch, and everything's working okay. So let's go back into our test promotion file. So in promotion, test promotion, let's just make sure that this is not working. So we just need to fix this. Okay, so we have one error here. So that makes it a lot easier. Right, so e-commerce promotion test promotion dot single. So we know where the problem is. So we just need to work out what the problem is. So error at setup of test single promotion. So test single promotion, promotion variant list, we'll bring that in. So if you head over to the promotion fixture we built, notice that I named it promotion multivariant. And that's the problem here. I'm bringing in this promotion variant list and I didn't call it that. So that's the issue here. Just need to make sure you're bringing in the right fixture. So I just need to update this. There we go. So hopefully now that solves that little issue. And now we've still got another problem. Okay, so promotion.promotype must be a promotype instance. So value error, cannot assign. Okay, so it looks like we've got a problem here in this fixture, the promo type fixture. So let's go back into our fixtures. So that's in test promo fixtures. So single promotion type, promo type. So just need to probably open up the models, or I'm just going to have a quick look at the models to see what the issue is there. So we call it a single promotion type. Promotion type equals promo type, that's spelled correctly, objects with an S, and then create, it's just the name, and then return promotion type. So this is a little bit tricky to understand. Clearly there's a value error here. So this is referring to promo type. So at this point, I'm just going back. I'll start with the model. So I look at promo type, name. Okay, that's really simple. And that's connected to my fixture. So I'll go up to my fixture for promo type. Yep, I'm just going to create a name. That doesn't seem to be a problem. So in respect of value error, there's no kind of value error here. I'm just entering the name, and that's going into my model, and it's a character field. Okay, just name, referencing that correctly. So I come down to where I'm using it next, and that's in this promotion multivariant fixture. And that's where it kind of clicks, because here I'm calling coupon. But the problem is, this is the scope here. If we think about the scope, this cannot be accessed because it doesn't exist. And the thing is here that yes, we are initiating a product, but we aren't, if we're going to build a promotion, we're going to need to already have a coupon. And that's the issue here. So we're going to need to bring in coupon, the coupon fixture. So we're going to need to build that up. So I think that's what the problem is here. So let's go ahead and try that again. And now we probably have the same issue for the promo type because we don't have that connected. So let's go ahead and also add in promo type. So let's just double check that. What it's called. So we're going to need to bring this fixture in as well. Yeah, it's apologies. So in the fixture, it's called single promo type. So we are going to need that fixture as well. So we're going to put it there, and there we go. So this fixture requires that data as well. So it's not going to be automatically created from this fixture. We need to actually call that as well. So what we've done is in order to make data here, we need to kind of call this fixture and make that data first before we then go ahead and create our promotion. And that's what the issue was. So let's go back in now and run PyTest. And we still have one error. Okay, so we've got a type error now, is scheduled. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Is scheduled equals true. So like we did before, I'm going to start with the model, and you can see straight away that in our promotion table, it says is scheduled, not is scheduled. So there's just a typo here. So in this fixture, it should say is schedule. I was just trying to do it off the top of my head, and we made that little mistake. So that's a nice and simple one when you've got a type error. So again, just work from the back, work forward, and you should be able to solve it. And we still got a problem. Okay, promotion object is not scriptable. Okay, wow, another type error. So probably another typo. So let's take a look. So test promotion type error. So again, here what we've done is we've created an instance and we're just grabbing it here. And the problem is here, I put this 0 here, thinking I was going to return some sort of list maybe. So there's only one item here. So we're just going to reference that as promotion multivariant. And then we go ahead and run some tests. And there we go. So everything is back up to date. All of our tests are working. Now I want to say that if we didn't have those tests in place, then potentially we would have a number of different problems and it would be very difficult for us to find. But because we've created those tests and we've been very explicit in creating those tests, it's helped us to find the problems and guided us to where the problems are. And hopefully we can I'm going to say that it made it a lot quicker for us to then find the errors and to solve them. And at this point, I can be pretty confident knowing that all the other components of the system is working, because I know that I'm going to say I thoroughly tested them, or there is enough tests there to kind of ensure that the other components of the system is working. Right, so now we can move forward. Now I realize that could have been a little bit tricky to follow. So I've created this zip file with all the files up until this point. So you can just go ahead, and if you are still having problems, just check the code at this point. So this zip file just represents the code at this very point after we completed and fixed all those problems. So we can now kind of draw a line underneath creating the database and start to now think about some of the specifications, the scope of this application in a little bit more detail. Exactly how should we interact with this application to build the promotion? So in this tutorial, we are going to build a simple admin interface. We won't go into too much detail. We'll just get something baselined so that we can actually start building promotions. So we need to be able to add a new promotion to a selectable individual product. So now we have kind of the back end, if you like, the database ready to facilitate these actions, if you like. Let's now start to build a very simple admin interface so that we can enter promotions into our database from the Django admin area. So in our project, let's put this in the e-commerce promotion section, and let's go to admin. Right, so we're going to build, like I said, a simple interface so that users can enter, so they can go ahead and enter some promotions. So from models, let's just bring that in, because no doubt we're going to need a few of them. And then from, oh yeah, we won't do that bit. So let's do this first. So we're going to say class. So here we're going to need the product. So let's go for product inventory. Let's call this list, and then admin.model admin. Okay. Right. So what we're going to do here then is we're going to attach this to the models dot promotion. Okay. So we're going to grab the promotion model, and we're just going to display a set of fields to enter a new promotion. And in order for us to do that, we're going to need to associate that. When we add a new promotion, we want to be able to add in products from the product inventory table to build up this table here, or to enter data into this table here. So what we're going to need to do here, I think, is to build an inline. So we're going to create a new class here called products on promotion, referencing our many-to-many table. Admin dot, we're going to say stacked inline. Okay, so let's go for model. So we're going to access the model through products. So we're going to say models dot promotion, and then dot products on promotion. That's the field, and then through. So we're going to use the through here to access the link table, if you like, the many-to-many table. So inside of promotion, we have a field called products on promotion. That's incorrect. And then we're using the through. So we define the through in the model. If I could show you that. So here, for example, the through. So we basically defined what the intermediate table is, what the link table is. Wrong way. So we'll just reference that, and that's going to then take us to that model, that link table model. Right, so with that in place, we can define extra. So by default, there'll be one kind of input box for us to select a product from the inventory table. I'm just going to add 4 to that. And then we need to link that up. So we're going to say inlines equals, and that's going to be product on promotion. That's our inline. I think that might be expecting that. So with our inline in place, let's just go ahead and we're just going to add our list display so that we can see what it is that we want. So name is active, promo start. So this is just defining what it is I want to see in my list when I select in the admin on the product inventory section. Promo end. There we go. So that's the list display, and then we just need to register this all. So go ahead and just register all this. So admin.site.register. A few ways of doing this, obviously, but we're doing it this way. So models.promotion, and that's connected to the product inventory list class that we just created here. So that's that. Yeah, we may as well just add all the others while we're here. Admin.site register models.promo type, and then we'll just do the same thing again for the coupon. Okay, so now we have that in place. Let's go ahead and see if we can start this up. So we're inside of our, or actually it's probably already started because we're inside of our container. So let's just go over to our browser. See if we can start this up. Okay, so it can't be opened just yet. So it looks like there might be an issue. Maybe it's not started. Let's have a look at the logs. The model promotion type is already registered in app promotion. The model promo type is already registered in admin site. So, okay, promo type. Let's just get rid of that for now. Okay, so let's just close it down. Let's go to Docker. Let's just restart Django. Let's go back in. Still got an issue. Okay, so let's go into our logs, see what the issue is. So, inlines. Okay. Of course. Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay. So let's just restart again. Probably no, that should be okay. Product on promotion. So where are we? Inlines, line 13 seems to be a problem. It was never closed. Okay. One more time. Okay, so it's fine. So now everything's running. Let's go ahead and try. So it should be admin and password. That's how to get in. So admin, username, password. And then go into promotions. All right, so far we've got nothing here. So let's go. So promo 1, description. We don't need that. So promo reduction, let's do 10%. Is active. Is scheduled, maybe. Promo start today. Promo end. Promo type. So we don't have a type yet, so we're probably going to need to do that, aren't we? So let's just go back here. Let's add in the type. I thought I did this for a reason, although we probably don't need to do that. That's okay in actual fact. So we can just, yeah, let's just make the promo type because we're going to need it, aren't we? So let's go for promo type first. Type 1. Okay, so now we can set up our promotion. Promo 10% is active, is scheduled, promo start, promo end. So we've got the promo type now, and we don't need a coupon. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit primitive because you can see here that I need to use this drop down. Now, This is okay, it's quite speedy because there's only 50 items, but in the previous data set we had 200,000 products, and that's going to slow down this system. That's going to take a couple of seconds to load all that, so it's probably not the best way of working. So we're ultimately probably going to need to build our own form for this, a custom form for this. We're not going to do that in this tutorial. What we can do to make this a little bit more palatable at this stage is to change the setting here. Let's go for, we have this raw ID fields equals, and that would give us a way of selecting from the, so we're going to put this onto the product inventory ID. Basically that then is going to go into the product inventory table. It's then going to allow us to show a list of all the products. So by using raw ID fields, and you can have a look at the Django documentation for that, it'll give you a little bit more information. So let's just restart. Should be okay. And raw ID must be a list or tuple. Okay, apologies. Same situation again. Okay. Which is not a field. Product. Is it product? Of course it is. Okay, so now we've got that. Let's just refresh this page again once more. And now you can see, now you can't see. So let's do that again. I was expecting something slightly different there. So let's just go back. So raw ID fields. So as per Django documentation, raw ID fields, it should give us a little widget like this. So we can click on the magnifying glass and we can then select. So it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. And I think I know what the problem is. If you go into inventory, we haven't actually registered the inventory table, product inventory table. I reckon that's the problem. So if you go into inventory, let's just go into admin, and let's just go ahead and create a small admin for this as well. So let's say from.import models. So yeah, this is inside of the inventory admin. We're going to say admin.site.register. Let's go for models.product. We may as well just add some more, and it might be useful. Admin.site.register models category. So like I said, this is something we're going to need to tackle a bit later. I don't want to start going into this too much at the moment, because again, this is one of these other things where if we start to create this and then later on think, oh, we want to change something really simple like a field, then it just gives us more work to do. And we're just trying to baseline this to get all the functionality working, and then we can start thinking about how it should be, how we can interact with the system. So product, I think it's a store price. Let's do that. And then, yeah, okay. And let's do admin.site.register. Let's just register this. So models.product inventory. Let's connect that to the inventory admin. Cool. Okay, so we've registered the product inventory table. Now let's just go back into our site and refresh. And you can now see that our widget is working. And when I click on that, you now have access to all the different inventory products. We simply just need to select it. And now we've gone ahead and selected that as on promotion. Here we can override the price if we want to. So we can specify the price right here. Obviously, this is going to be automatically generated, so we don't need to do anything here. If we leave it, because we're going to specify here a reduction of say 50%. So let's go for promo 1. Is active, is scheduled today. So it's going to be on for a couple of days. Connect it to a promotion and then press save. And there we go. So we have our first promotion. So I previously set out, let's just close that, in the admin here, name is active promo, promo end. So we can clearly see here that we've got in this list those fields being displayed. And you can see that this promotion is active. It starts here and it ends there. So I'm getting pretty confident now that we can now add a new product to a selectable and select individual products. We need a bulk applied discount as a percentage to all the chosen products now. So this moves us now onto Celery. So if you haven't used Celery before, no problem, we'll start from the very beginning. I'll make this as simple as possible. Basically, what Celery is going to provide us is a way of running tasks in the background. So instead of, for example, we have one server and your Django server is running, instead of having that one server to run all the different tasks that might need to happen every time the user interacts with your system, we can offload some of those tasks to other servers and they can be managed by Celery. So we've already set up Docker ready for this. So we have Redis. So we're going to send the request to Redis, and Redis is then going to distribute that to a Celery worker. And we also have Celery Beat, which we'll talk about later. So we have this ready to go. Now, this isn't going to work at the moment because what's going to happen here when we activate this, it's expecting to find in the requirements Celery. We need to actually install Celery before we can actually run this. And what this container is going to hold is basically a copy of everything here, minus the Docker ignore file that we specified in there, these items here. And then it's going to run an instance of, or it's then going to run a Celery worker. And then we can pass information or tasks over to that through Redis so it can then perform those tasks. So the task that we want it to perform in this case, going back here, is to, when we actually save our promotion, it's going to go through all of those products and then it's going to change the discount, or it's going to add, in this case, the task is going to add the price. So it's going to work out the price. So we add in our promotion, we add a product, we define the reduction, and then we save. When we save, it's going to find the task, the Celery task is going to find the product inventory item. It's going to get the price. It's then going to run the reduction based upon our promotion that we've set here. And then it's going to update this field here. So that's the task that we're going to create. So let's give it a go. Right, so first up then, on our local machine, let's go ahead and update the requirements file. So we're going to need to pip install Celery. Let's do that first. So there's a whole host of different things that's going to be installed. So that's that done. Let's pip3, sorry, our requirements file, because that's going to be copied across when we create our new Docker container for Celery. All right, so that's ready to go. In addition to that, I think that's all we need to do at this point. So let's, well, actually, we need to configure it now, of course we do. So let's go into settings to begin with and just set this up. So in settings, let's close this down. The first thing that we can do is we won't need to define it in our installed apps. So that's not a problem at all. So let's just go down to the bottom here, add a few different parameters. Right, so we're going to need to define the broker. So the broker we're referring to Redis, where the actual task is going to be passed from. So let's set this up. So Celery, I haven't done this, have I? No. Okay, so we're going to set that up first. So Celery broker URL. So remember, what we're doing here is we're setting everything up in our main app, and that's going to be copied across to our Celery container. And anytime we make any changes, we're going to need to update that container with those new settings. So Celery broker URL. So we're going to say Redis. So Redis referring to the service that we want to run, 6379. So in actual fact, if we go into our if we go into our Docker, it's just called Redis, right? So that's the name. So Redis and then the port number. So that's the broker. And then we can also define the Celery result backend. So that's going to be the same again. Cool. Right. Okay, so with that in place, I think we're done there. Okay, so now we need to set up some, we need to configure Celery so it'll work within our project. So first of all, let's just close everything down. Let's go into our e-commerce. Inside of here, we're going to create a new file called Celery. Let's give that a go, celery.py. So you can just, if you haven't used Celery before, just go through the basic introduction on their website. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the website is currently down, DNS issues, but there are some other community members. If you have a look at the GitHub repositories, other community members have created a mirror of it, so you can still access the documentation. So we're going to import OS so we can utilize that. So from Celery, this is just going to be like a default setup that you would see in a tutorial. So os.environ.set default, I think it is, set default, yep. So we just need to set our project, Django, basically just hooking up and making sure that Celery can see any settings we've got here in the settings file. E-commerce, and of course you can change this if you want to add your settings somewhere else. Of course you can. So e-commerce.settings, that's where the settings file is with an S. Okay, so then the app equals Celery. So we're going to give the app a name of e-commerce. Okay, so we're then going to say configure this app, this instance of Celery, config from object, and then Django setting, yeah, and then give it a namespace, Celery. Okay, and then app.auto-discover so that we can find any of the tasks. Okay, so that's like a basic setup. Have a look at the Django, the Celery website for a little bit more information. So with Celery now set up, let's now think about building a task. So let's give this a go. So inside of our promotion, we're going to create a new file here called task.py. Right, so basically what we're going to do here is we are going to define some tasks. So some things that we want done, or some tasks that we want to offload to Celery to perform. And the idea, like I said, Celery will be on a different server. Obviously the CPU RAM load would be separate from Django, and that way it allows you to kind of offload tasks which can be completed. And obviously we're talking about asynchronous tasks as well. So we can perform tasks, the user can continue what they're doing, and then the job is processed and done, and then we can tell the user that the process is done. So lots of different reasons why you might want to utilize this. Okay, so there's a few tools that we're going to need. So from datetime, let's import datetime, because remember we're going to be working with dates here. From decimal, we're working with decimal numbers because of the prices, etc. So from maths, we're going to import, because we're going to convert into, we're going to create a simple calculation to reduce the original price by a percentage. Right, so from Celery, referring to the Celery file, we need to import, from Celery tool, import shared task. So this is basically a way of creating a task, a shared task. So from Django.db, we're going to need import transactions. So what we're going to do is when we're going to ask Celery to perform actions on the database, and using transaction atomic, it means that all the tasks need to be successful in order for the action or the task to succeed. So we're going to, within transaction atomic, run the changes that we want to build. Because what we don't want is we don't want to half change the prices, because it means that some prices have been changed, some haven't. And that can cause us a little bit of a headache, potentially. Not in this case, but just kind of building up to this idea of using transaction atomic. It means that essentially everything needs to be successful. All changes need to be successful. Else we want to roll back and tell the user that there's a problem. So the other thing we're going to use from .models, we're going to need a model, aren't we? So promotion. Okay, so let's give this a go. So at shared task, let's go ahead and say promotion prices. Actually, what are we doing first? Oh, prices. Yeah, let's do prices. So promotion prices, right? So we are going to need to pass into this the reduction amount. Okay, so in order for this to work, we're going to pass into this function the reduction amount and then also the object that we want to kind of change. So yeah, there we go. So that's what we want to pass into this function. So in order for this function to work, to change the actual promotion price, or to actually change the prices or add prices, we're going to need to know how much to reduce by, and then also which item we want to reduce. So we pass it in, and we're going to say with transaction dot atomic. Let's go ahead now and say promotion equals promotion dot products. Products on promotion. So what I want to do is I just want to basically grab. I basically want to grab something. I want to get all the items. Probably I want to get all the items from the promotion. That's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to go through objects dot filter. So set up a simple filter. So what I'm doing here, from the promotion table, promotion products on promotion. So I want to go to that table through. So this is the reference to the many-to-many field. I want to go through that and get to the actual this table here, and then I want to basically run a filter on that table. So I'm going to say the promotion ID should equal whatever promotion ID I give it. And that should then give me a list of all the items that I've set in that promotion. So it should return all the products that I've set in that promotion. Okay, so that's promotions. Apologies, it's fairly long and you can't see the end. Just pause that. So with that, we also need the reduction equals, so let's grab the reduction equals the reduction amount divided by 100. Okay, so we'll just make that into, prepare that so that we can perform the calculation. And then let's say for all the products that are inside the promotion, so for promo in promotions, so promotions being where all the products that are on promotion are being stored. So remember, this is all the products in that particular promotion, and we've grabbed the promotion via the promotion ID that we're going to pass in. So we just copy over that. So we iterate over that. So we say if promo dot price override. Do you remember, we don't want to change the price if the user's selected override. You remember we've got the Boolean override field. So if that's false, if that is false, then we want to perform the reduction in price. If it's true, and obviously we don't want to touch that particular product. Right, so now we've got that. Let's say retail. We need to grab the retail price from the product, the original product. So what we need now is to grab from here, because we know what products are on sale. Now we need to grab the ID of that product and then grab the store price. Let's get the store price. So remember, the retail price is the original or the recommended retail price that's been set by the manufacturer, but the store price is whatever it's being sold at that particular store. So the store price is going to equal promo dot product inventory ID dot store price. So we're going to go through this link table and get the price. So what's happening here, promo, so the item that we're referring to at the particular, remember we grabbed the items, now we're iterating over the items. So we grab the first item and then we go into the product inventory, we get the product inventory ID. So we go through the product inventory ID, and that is basically one of the foreign keys here in this table, product inventory ID. And we're going to then traverse over to this table and then get the corresponding store price. That's what we're doing here. So that's going to now store the store price. So now we're going to need to work out what the new price is. So this allows us to kind of round up to prevent us any problems. If we say 10%, we don't want the price to be less than 10%, and we don't want to have any kind of prices that are like £10, silly price, £10 2 pence. You know, we want to kind of round things up here, and you can change this to however you need this. So retail price, takeaway, and then in brackets, because we want to perform this first. So we're going to say retail price. What am I doing? Store price. Store price. Store price. I keep saying retail price. Sorry. So get the store price. Takeaway store price times decimal reduction. Okay, because remember we're using the actual store price is in the decimal, so we want to kind of do the equation with a decimal. So that's going to then work out the new price. So now we have a new price. We're then going to say promo.promo save price. So promo.promo price. So remember, we've grabbed an instance from this table here, and one of those rows include all of these fields. So what we're going to do now is update this field with the new price. So we're going to say price equals decimal new price. So we add that into the database, and then we just go ahead and save. Okay, so we're going to iterate all over. I'll start again. We're going to iterate over all the products in the promotion. We're going to grab the store price and then make the reduction and then save it back into this table. So we now have all the products related to this promotion and the new price in this table. So now we're going to need to make sure it's triggered. So there's a few ways we could trigger it from updating the table, for example, when we try to save from the model or inside the model. But here I'm going to place this in the admin area. So I'm going to just extend, let's just zoom in a bit. So I'm going to just grab, or I'm going to apply a custom task when the item is saved. I think, yeah, that solves, yeah, that's the best way to describe it, I think. So from .tasks, we just need to grab the tasks. Let's import the, what was it, promotion prices. Okay, so we're going to run this task when someone saves here. So that's the relating here to the promotion. So when someone saves an item in the promotion table, I'm going to run this. So let's just, we're going to use save underscore model. Is it model? Okay, so what we're doing here then is we are going to, we're not going to override, we're just going to add, a new function to perform the task of actually updating the price for all the products that have been saved. So here we could, for example, override and add some other items when we save. So we use super save model. We're potentially going to run some overrides here. So we just pass that in. And of course, we can perform an action before saving here, or we can perform an action after saving. And I think in this case, it's better for us to perform the action after it's been saved, because we don't want to add anything to the table until we know that the products and everything is okay to actually save. So here I'm going to say promotion. Prices. Yep. And then use delay to kind of trigger the action. And then we're going to say object, because this is the object here is storing the data from the form that's been created for us to actually enter a promotion. So obj dot, and we want the promotion, was it the promo reduction? Yeah, so we're going to grab the data from the promo reduction. So that's the amount of reduction we want to apply. And then we also want to pass in, remember we're passing this into now our function here, passing this data in. So secondly, we want to pass in the object ID. And there we go. So that's the ID of the promotion. And that's obviously needed in order to identify the promotion here and then all the products in that promotion. Okay, so let's just bring everything back down. Just close everything up. So hopefully that's off the top of my head. I think that's all we need to do. So let's go back into our Docker Compose. Let's open up our Celery. Our Celery container. So hopefully that's now ready to go. So worker, yep, Redis, yep. Okay, so like I said, what's going to happen? We're going to create this container. Now remember, we're using the information here, so it's going to use the 3.10 Alpine. Again, loosely speaking, as a base for us to run everything. And it's going to run through this again, and it's going to install the requirements. So we have already put into the requirements Celery, so it will also install Celery. And then it would go ahead and then create a new container, blah, 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 and then run this command. So it will run Celery straight away. Let's give it a go. So let's do it from here. Right, so Docker compose up D. So we could use build, but this should do it. So we're going to with the download, so it's just running through the tasks, performing the actions, and then hopefully it will come up. And then as soon as it comes up, we'll grab it here and have a look to see if it's working. It's taking its time. So I received an error, and if we go back into Docker Compose, it's referring to invalid mount path here. Okay, so go back into the volumes here, add a slash right there. So it just needs to be absolute. So I forgot that. So just run that again, and notice that it's referring to the same problem. So part 7. Okay. So in this case, let's just go back into a container. Notice that we've got an image here for Celery. So I'm just going to remove that. So that's in the images. I removed that. And then let's just go ahead and try this again. So that's going to rebuild the image. So you can see that we've got the same problem. Okay. So on further reflection, I've forgotten this slash here, start here. So updated that. Let's just give that a go. Okay, so it looks like it's created. So let's go back into Docker here and have a look. So it looks like it's up here. So let's go into the, just wait for that to load up. Take a look. Looks like there's an issue. It keeps restarting. So potentially there's a problem here. So let's just go back. Oh, let's just remove this. And we go back into images and then go into Celery again. Let's remove that. Right, so let's just run this again. So you don't need to delete it if we use the build. We can just say, or define build, and then we don't need to delete it. But okay, so we've done that. We deleted it again. Looks like there's an issue here. So let's go in and have a look. So but settings are not configured. Oh, okay, so the environment variable, it can't be seen. Right, so let's go back into our project. Well, first of all, let's just remind ourselves of how to do this. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm just going to get rid of the image. Okay, right, so I think we're missing something. And if we go into the project and then go into the init file here, we're going to need to just say from .celery, let's import app as Celery app, and then all equals Celery app. Okay. I guess it needs to be a tuple. Okay. Okay, so I think that is the problem. So let's give that a go again. So it's working okay. So that's ruined the ruined that. Is that right? So from .celery, so .celery import app as Celery app, yep, and then all equals Celery app. Okay, so we've got issues. What's happening here then? From Celery import Celery. Oh, okay, module not found. No module named Celery. Okay, so the problem here probably is that we don't have Celery there. So because we haven't actually, we've set it in the requirements, but we probably need to rebuild. So safe to say at this point, it's probably worth just closing down, apart from maybe the database. Actually Redis is okay. So I'll remove those two items. So let's just rebuild those again. So that's going to rebuild both Celery and Django. So we'll give that a go. So that's rebuilt. So you can see it's kind of flagging here still. So potentially there's an error here. So requested settings, but settings are not configured. Define environment variable, Django setting module, or call settings configure before accessing settings. So Django underscore settings.module, it's probably just a typo somewhere. So let's just double check this. Okay. So back in here, let's just go from the settings file. So we've got Celery broker. So if you head back into celery.py, notice that it should be settings module. It does tell us, it did tell us the setting module couldn't be found. So S here is needed in celery.py. So maybe that is the reason. So I've just load this all up again. So you can see it's still trying to come up and there's issues. So line 3 in Celery, you can see it tells me very briefly, no module named Celery. So that seems like the problem at the minute. So again, I'm just going to remove these again till we get it right. So in line 3, from Celery, import Celery. Okay, so it's telling me that it can't find Celery. So what's probably happening is we're using the image here. It's not updating the image because I'm not using the build command. I'm not telling it to rebuild, and that is potentially the issue here. So let's just try this again. Let's use build, and basically that's just going to rebuild everything. And let's now have a look to see what happens. So this time, our web is okay. Looks like the web is running okay, but Celery isn't starting. Okay, so here, redis.py, none type object has no attribute redis. So I'm assuming this is probably some sort of typo again. So let's take a look. So where we referred to redis, so right here. So just going back into celery.py, I did notice that we're going to need the parentheses there. So that's a slight change. So let's go ahead and give that a new build. So that's going to just rebuild. So if you remember before with the Elasticsearch, in the settings file here, we had to change it to correspond to the container name. And you can see here in our document compose file, Redis container name is Redis _ e-commerce version 2. So I'm going to change that back to Redis, kind of correspond with the information here in the settings. And now I'm just going to go back into here. I'm just going to delete that, and then I'm going to remove Redis, and yeah, yeah, get rid of that as well. So I'm just going to leave my Elasticsearch and database in place. So having changed that, I've now got to the actual resolution, which is I haven't installed Redis. So let's go ahead and install that. So pip install Redis, that seems like a good idea, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, let's update our requirements file. Remember, this is in the local areas in our bash here. So pip freeze requirements. I'm not quite sure why I did that. I do apologize. But those other issues were issues. So let's do that. So now I've updated the requirements file. Good idea maybe to restart Celery. I think all I'm going to need there is a restart Celery actually. So now we've installed Redis. Hopefully that's going to solve our problem. So give that a couple of seconds to rebuild, and we'll take a look. Now once it's finished, go back into your Docker desktop, have a look at the container, and everything is working. And notice also it says tasks here. If you can just about see that, it says e-commerce, blah, 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 promotion prices. So it actually picked up our task as well, and everything is ready to go. Now, I do apologize if you feel as though that I'm very incompetent because of those simple problems. Ultimately, it's a wonderful experience having all of these problems. Now, you might not think so, but I think it's a really good learning process, having gone through that, having a look at some of those issues and how we tackled them. And a lot of the time, you've seen it's just typos here and there. That's always going to be the case. And we try to utilize some basic troubleshooting skills and approaches to try and tackle that. Of course, a lot of this comes down to experience. You see certain issues and you kind of roughly know what's going on. But hopefully that's given you an experience, because no doubt, and one of the worst things to see in comments is when people can't get things running. So hopefully that's given you a good grounding if you needed it. Of course, if you didn't, I do apologize, in kind of solving those problems. So now we have that in place, it looks like everything's going to work. So I guess we're going to try this out. So let's go ahead and first of all build a test to test this out. So we're going to build a test that's going to utilize Celery. So we'll build a test, we'll see if it works, and then we'll go ahead and just add a new promotion in the admin and see if that works too there. So let's go back into our e-commerce and then promotion, our tests. So let's make a new file for this, a test. Test actions.py. That's probably not very descriptive at this point. Promotion. So let's call this promotion management. Maybe you call it that. Test. Test _ pro. Yeah. Okay, so I've got test promotion management. Right, so in here then, we're going to need to think about testing with Celery. Right, so here then, we're going to need a few tools. So from datetime, let's import date and also time delta. So we're going to need to bring that in. And then let's import PyTest. So from e-commerce dot promotion, dot models. Let's import promotion. Probably going to need that. And then in addition to that, we're going to need to pick our tasks. So e-commerce dot promotion dot tasks. Let's import our task, which is the promotion prices. Okay, so a few ways to do this. Let's go ahead and parameterize. So at pytest dot mark dot parameterize. Let's go ahead and add two parameters, so reduction and then result. What am I doing? Reduction and result. That should set that, and then we'll just add two tests. So 10. So 10 is the reduction amount, and then this is the final amount. Okay, so what we need to be careful here, we're kind of relying on the fixture here. We're not making this very dynamic. So if we take a look at the fixture in tests, that's the promotion fixture. You can see that we start off. If we go into the inventory fixture, sorry, we can see that we're going to be utilizing this right here, the single subproduct. You can see here that the store price starts at 99.99. So that's the original store price. So what we're doing here is we're going to grab that, and then we're going to reduce it by 10%, and then this should be the result, 90. So what we can do, we can change, just use kind of whole numbers to make it easier if you like 100. So that should give us 90. Okay. So either way, up to you. But that's where the original price is going to come from this fixture here. And you can see that's static. So the reduction of 10% should give us 90. And then second to that, we can run another test. So we can run multiple tests. That's the whole point here of this parameterizing. So 50% should return £50. That's what we're saying there. So it's going to need a comma there. And then we can now create our test. So test promotion price reduction reduction result, and then let's bring in Celery. So we're going to need Celery app, Celery worker, and then also we're going to need to bring in the promotion as well. So we're going to need to run the promotion. So that's promotion underscore multivariant. Was it multivariant? Just double check that. So in the promotion fixture here, we called it, promotion multivariant. So we want to run that. Remember, that's going to run this, it's going to run that. And then it's also going to run and set up the database of all the products as well. So that pretty much fires everything off. So once that's done, that's everything in place for us to now kind of build the test. So let's say promotion prices reduction promotion multivariant ID. Okay, so we're going to grab the reduction. So the reduction is 10%, and then we're going to get the ID. So at this point, we now know the promotion we want to apply the reduction to. The promotion obviously refers to multiple products. So let's say new price, that equals promotion dot products on promotion through dot objects dot get. So we're just going to get one instance. So there's only going to be one instance in the database. So promotion underscore ID promotion multivariant dot ID. Okay, so we're going to grab the promotion in the where are we? we're going to grab the promotion and then all the data associated with it, and that includes the product. Now there's only going to be one product, so we've got access to that product. So we now are going to test this. So we're going to say assert new price. So the new price, do you remember what's happening? Celery has changed the price and created a new price. We grabbed that new price from the database. So that new price should equal the result. So remember the result is here. So remember reduction result, reduction result. So reduction is 10, result is going to be 90. So what we're doing here is we're basically going to now go into the database, because it should all have been changed by Celery. So in the test database, we go and find the information that we need, grab the new price, and the new price must equal the result, so 90. Okay, so if that doesn't make sense, one more time from the top. So I brought the task in, that's the Celery task, and this is obviously the promotion database. Right, so parameterizing, here we've got two tests, set up two tests. So that's a reduction that we're going to apply, and that should be the final result. Now, in our inventory fixture, we set up our fixture for our product that's going to be entered into the test database, and that's going to have a store price of £99.99. So here then, we've gone ahead and we passed in this. Now this is going to iterate over. So we're going to do that test first and that test second. So that gets passed into this function here. And then we set up Celery. And then in addition to that, we also then set up the database with all the information for our fixtures. And then what we do, we fire off Celery and we perform the reduction. And then what we go and do is we grab the data from the database, and then we just check to see if the new price in the database equals the expected result, which is 90, and then 50. So we need to make sure, in order for us to integrate these Celery app fixtures, we are going to need to change the our configuration file here. So let's just bring in celery.contrib.pytest. So that just gives us the tool so we can work with Celery. And then let's just give this a go. Now, we'll run pytest. This is going to be from our Django shell, remember? So in Docker, open up the shell for Django and then give this a run. So it looks like we failed. Okay, so equals 50. So assert product. Okay, product on promotion object 3 greater than or equal to 50. Okay. Okay, so don't forget to use the comma in after the second set of parameters here. And then in addition to that, I've just noticed new price. Inside of here, we've got the promo price. So we need to go into that to equal result. So new price, grab the object, and then in that object, we've got a field called promo price, and that should equal a result. Okay, so hopefully now we should be good to go. Obviously, I could just name this particular test. So it looks like everything's okay. Now we've got this warning here. Okay. So depending on how you want to deal with warnings, at this point, it's bad practice, but I'm going to turn them off. So you know how to turn them off. So in pytest I here, let's go for filter warnings, yep. And that's going to equal ignore depreciation. I think it's depreciation. Okay, yeah, depreciation warning. So there we go. So let's just run this again. There we go. So good, it looks like it's working. It looks like everything now is set up. So we may as well have a look at this. So let's go into our admin here. let's go into promo. We'll go ahead and if we save this again now and go back in, you can see now it's populated the actual price for the item, 33. So this is inventory, product inventory 49. So let's go into our products inventory. Let's have a look for product 49. Probably the last item. Product 1. Maybe it's this one here. Product 49. So you can see we started here with a store price of £66 or whatever currency you're using, 66. And then what we did was in our promotion, we then reduced it by 50. So that should be 33. And there we go. So you can see that now Celery, that task has been handed over to Celery. We perform that task when we save. And you can see that the reduction has been set. Now we can obviously price override that. So if we set this to 40 and then press save, you can see that because we've set it up with that Boolean, you can see that that's now not being changed. If I deselect price override, it means that Celery should sort out the price for us. So if I go back in, you can now see that Celery's set the price based upon the promotion reduction. Right, okay, so that's pretty confident that that is working okay. So we have bulk applied discounts. So if we have many more products, that should work absolutely fine. You could set up a separate test for that. We've got the manual override of prices. Promotion prices must be auditable over multiple promotions. So what we've done here then, by setting up this type of model, we can keep this promotion here forever, or we can draw it down into a JSON file and store it somewhere else. But once we set up the promotion and all the prices, everything's now set, so we can better audit that. Maybe we can better audit that. That data can stay in that table or move somewhere else, and we can keep a record of that particular promotion if we want to. So because of this setup, it does make it nice and auditable. If we didn't have price here and we had it here, it would change all the time based upon the promotion at that time. So we wouldn't be able to keep track of it. So specify a start time and end time for the promotion to be active. So we have specified that. That's not a very good specification. We have specified that in the database. So promotions can be manually started or stopped, and timescale. Promotions can be flagged. Okay, so now we need to deal with this here. So we need to now set this up with a new Celery task so that it starts the promotion at a specific time and ends it at a specific time based upon the time frame that we set. Okay, so the promotions can be manually started or stopped, and then promotions can be flagged automatically started or not. Okay, so let's deal with this next. Right, so what we have here in our table is promotion start, promotion end for our date, and then is active and is scheduled. So if it is scheduled, it means that Celery is going to take over and start it and end it automatically. If we don't select is scheduled, and we can automatically define is active, so therefore the promotion will be active straight away as soon as we press that button. So those are the options. Now, if we have a look here, you can see we have is active and is scheduled. And what we want, maybe we don't want the user to kind of select that automatically for us. However, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a Celery task to automatically turn on the promotion if it's set in a certain time, and then deselect that if the promotion is finished. So that's what Celery is doing ultimately in this next task. It's going to start if the promotion has started based upon the date, and then it's going to stop that or deselect that when the promotion ends. So let's configure this. Right, so let's just close everything here. Let's just go into our e-commerce promotion and tasks. And now let's build a new task to automatically set the promotion active if the time is in a certain time frame. Right, so separate task again. So again, at shared task, and then let's create a new function. Let's call this promotion management. Now this is the last thing that we're going to be doing in this tutorial. Thank you for listening if you've got to this point. Apologize for all the problems. At the same time, hopefully it was actually quite useful. So again, transaction atomic. So we want to perform all these actions and they need to be all successful to move on. So promotions equals promotion dot objects dot filter. So run a simple filter. So what we're doing here then, we're just going to grab all the promotions that are turned on. Oh, sorry, we're going to grab all the promotions, that are scheduled. So first of all, we want to filter out from our table all the promotions that are actually set to is scheduled. And that means that we want to schedule that automatically to start and stop. So that's the first thing we need to do in the promotions table. Now we've grabbed them all, we're now going to check whether they should be turned on or turned off. So let's set up the date. So date time.now, and then we just want the date. So .date. Okay, so we grab the date now, and then let's run our little algorithm. So for promo in promotions, so we're going to run through each promotion and check to see if they should be turned off or on. Okay, so remember we've grabbed the promotions here. So we're just going to run through these. So we're going to say if promo is scheduled. So we're just going to double check to make sure that it is actually scheduled. So if the promotion is or has been checked as scheduled, if the promo end date is less than now. So we can still use less than and more than. So now remember is today's date. So if the promotion end date is less than now, that means that the promotion is ended, because now might be the 21st of March and the promotion ended on the 20th of March. So therefore this is less than now. So therefore we need to end the promotion. So we're going to say promo dot is active. Now remember what we're doing, we're iterating through each promotion. So we're grabbing the data from each promotion as we iterate through it, so we can change it. So promotion is active equals false. So we're going to change that to is false. Now it shouldn't be active. And also the promotion, if it's actually ended, it shouldn't be part of the schedule anymore. So let's take it out of the schedule. So is schedule equals false too. So we don't have to worry about it again. So we're going to deselect, or we're going to change the Boolean is active to false so that it's not active anymore. And then also we're going to take it out of the schedule because it has ended. So there we go. So basically if the promotion has ended, we then save and we're good to go. Now, if, for example, it hasn't ended, if the promotion date is still in date, then we're going to say promo start. We're going to check the start date to see if it should be started. So if it's less than or equal to now, so what I mean is that if we set the promotion to today, it's going to start instantly. Or if it's set for tomorrow, it means at 12 o'clock it's going to then start. So if the promotion is set for now, we're going to set the promotion to active. So the promotion started, else promotion, we're just going to set to active equals false just to make sure that's the case. We don't need to do that, but promo is active equals false. Maybe someone's accidentally, or a mistake has happened somewhere. But basically what's happening here, if the promo date is now, today's date, or is less than now, it means that we need to start this promotion. So if the promotion is set on the 20th of March and it's the 21st of March, we need to turn it on. Else, we just need to make sure it's set to false. Okay, and I think that's it. So we'll go ahead and promo dot save. And there we go. So that's going to end the promotion. That's going to start the promotion based upon the date. So that's our simple algorithm to configure that. So let's go back into our admin now, and we can go ahead and just apply that here. So we just need to make sure we bring it in. So this is going to be promo management. I think I called it promo management. Yep. And then down here, let's just go ahead and run it. So promotion promotion management dot delay. And there we go. So that will run that task. So notice that we change the prices first and then set the promotion as active. So let's now build a test for this in our management here. So let's go ahead and set this up. So we're going to set up set a few different tests here. So start, end, we're going to use start, end, and expected. Okay, so expected being whether it should be turned on or whether it should be turned off. Okay, so let's set up these parameters. So we're going to say date today. That's when it should start. Date dot today, and then plus time delta 5. Okay, so basically if today's date is the 20th of April, and then also the end date of this, and the end date of this promotion is today's date plus 5, so the 25th of April, then because the date is set today, this should be turned on. So we need to make sure this promotion is turned on. So that's what we're saying there. So that's the first test we're going to run. So the second test we're going to run is today's date minus time delta 10, and then time, we could say minus 5. Right, so today's date, 20th of April, say, take away 10, that's the 10th of April. And the end date, you can see the end date is 5 days instead of 10. So that's going to be, say, the 10th of April, and that's going to be the 15th of April. But it's the 20th of April today, for example. So this definitely needs to be turned off. So this should return false. So is active should be false on this one. And then last of all, we'll do a check to make sure that if someone tries to type in the wrong information. So let's do plus 5 here. And then today's date, oh, actually plus 10. So that's 1 in the future. Let's do 1 in the future. So that's going to be false. So that means that today's date, 20th, say, of April, 5 days time. So that's going to start on the 25th and then end 5 days later. So that shouldn't be turned on. So there's 3 simple tests that we can run. So let's go ahead and do exactly that. So now we set those parameters. Let's test this. Let's call this test promotion management. So we're going to take in start, end, expected, celery. We're going to need celery, and then celery. So these are fixtures that come with PyTest that we've kind of turned on, like you saw earlier. Promotion. So we're going to need promotion multi-variant. Okay. Okay. So with that in place, let's set this up. So we're going to say promotion multivariant dot promo start equals start, and then promo multivariant dot promo end equals end, and then we're going to say promotion multivariant dot save update fields equals, I'll explain this in a minute. So promo start, and then we're going to need promo end. Right, and then so that basically sets up all the parameters, start and the end. So you can see that we've taken the instance of our promotion, we've set the start and the end date. That's what we're doing. And the end date and the start date is based upon our tests that we want to run. So that's what we've done there. So we've updated those fields, and then we're next up, we'll then run the promotion management task. So we're going to need to bring that task in. So run the task once we've updated the data in the database, and then we inspect the results. So let's go and get the results now. So promotion equals promotion.objects.all. Let's just grab the first item. And we basically need to now check to see, we're going to assert, so the promotion dot is active. So we're going to grab the first promotion, because there's only one promotion, active. We're going to check to see if it's acted. So we're going to check that against the expected outcome. So here then, these are our tests, start and end, and then the expected outcome. We then set everything up, and then what we do, we then pass in this data, start and end, into our instance that we're going to test. And then what we do then is we update the fields and save it. So now then in our database, we now have those fields set, and then we run the task, and then we grab the data again, and then we then go ahead and then test it to see if we got what we expect. Okay, so let's give this a go. So inside of our shell here, let's go for PyTest. Hopefully this works first time. Now again, we could just run this test, of course. So that's going to take a couple of seconds to run. And there we go. Looks like everything is absolutely fine. So we can take a look at this, one would imagine. So today's date, let's go for a couple of days' time. So we set this promotion. You can see it's not active at the moment, but we set it today. So as soon as we press save, we go back to it. If we go back to it, let's just try this again. Is now active. So it wasn't refreshed the page. That was the problem. So it wasn't picking up the code. So you can see it's working okay. So it's active. Now let's just schedule this for tomorrow and press save. So it won't start until tomorrow. Let's try that again. So let's schedule this, for 26. Yep. And then we press save. And it's still active. Okay, so what we might need to do here is just restart. Let's go ahead and just restart because we've made some changes. Let's go ahead and restart our Celery. So we go ahead and restart that. Okay, and let's go back again. So we'll refresh this. Let's go into promo again. So clearly this is going to start tomorrow. And let's press save. And you can now see it's not active. And then let's go back in and set it to today. And clearly now it's active. So it just needed a bit of a refresh. Remember what we've done here is we've changed some of the information that Celery needs. We added a new task. So we just restarted Celery. So it picks up that new task and performs that task. Okay, so now we have a test. We've seen it working. So we can now specify time and date. Promotions can be manually started or stopped. At least with this simple interface, it does work okay. So it is possible for us to do that. Promotions can be flagged, automatically started or stopped based upon the timescale. Yep. And then should be able to select multiple promotion types. So that is the case if we add multiple promotions. So where are we? Let's go ahead and do that. So if we had more promotion types, we can go ahead and do that. So that's just all kind of built in. So promotion type here too, and so on. And then let's just set up a new coupon just to make sure we can do that. New coupon. We might want to build a test for this. Oh, actually, I think we did, didn't we? So press save there. So promotions can be attached to the coupon, for example. Right. So I'm confident that that's That's all good. And obviously that can then be scheduled, right? So the last task here then, a daily automated scheduled task should manage promotion activation. Right, so because here in our tasks, we have a task that you probably noticed when we built this task, that we've set it to run every single time we save. And that's going to check all the promotions to make sure they are run. Now, we want this automated so that we can just leave it. And then when it's time, it's just going to automatically run. Now, we're going to set a time and date for this. So first of all, let's just go into Docker Compose, and we're just going to update this, and we're going to run Celery beat. So Celery beat is going to allow us to kind of schedule things at certain times. So you can see that that's going to run Celery e-commerce beat, and that's going to all run in a separate container. Right, so let's just make sure we've got our slash there, and then the trailing. And now we can just run this. Okay. I was hoping to find the command, but okay, so let's just go ahead and run this. So beat is now running. Hopefully everything is okay. Looks like there's not a problem there. Okay, so beat looks like it's running. So with that in place, let's now go into our settings. And at the bottom here, we're just going to set up a simple schedule. So I'll just bring this in. Okay, so that's our schedule. So here you can see we're going to set up a Celery beat schedule, a sample task. We need to point it to the task and then schedule it by cron tab. So here the minute 0, hour 1, so that's going to run at 1 a.m. So let's just make sure that we bring in cron tab from Celery schedules. Celery schedules, import cron tab. Cool. Okay, so with that in place, what's going to happen now is that, well, you can see we've already got a schedule file appear here. And basically, yeah, that's going to run at that time. So let's just make sure that we rebuild, because that won't have copied over to Celery beat. So we just need to just close that up and rebuild that. Cool. Right, so that's that done. So although I can't show this now, but what will happen at 1 a.m., the task will run, and that task will be this task here. Okay, so that task is going to run and just check to see if anything should be turned on. Any promotion should be turned on or turned off or deactivated and then removed from the scheduler. So if you're interested in looking at the tasks that have been performed by Celery, by all means have a look at Flower. Just turn this on and just quickly show this. There's not too much here. Oh. Okay, looks like I've done something wrong here. Line 80. Can you spot the problem? So, oh, okay. So let's drop that down. No, still a problem. Okay, container, image, environment, port. Okay. Here's space. There we go. Okay, so that's going to build that container, and that's running on port 8888. So give that a couple of seconds to download the image, and we'll have a quick look. Okay, so that should be running in the background. So let's just go ahead and have a look at that. That's running on port 88. So don't seem to be able to access it there. 88. So let's just double check here. Connected to Redis. Looks like it's okay. Looks like it should be running. So let's not fall into the same trap. We are going to need to install it. So let's just pip install flower. And then let's pip freeze that. And then we go ahead and just rebuild. So once you've done that, I've added the flower port environment variable here to equal 888. And then just if you are having problems, just remove and just rebuild. And then eventually you'll go back to 888 and then it will appear. So as you can see here, it's giving me some general information about the Celery tasks, status, active, process, failed, scheduled, and so on. So that can give you some basic information about the tasks that have been performed. So let's just go into here and just press save. For example, obviously we've got 2 tasks that were processed, and you can see that we have had 2 tasks that are processed there. And so we can kind of, we can drill down and have a look at that information in a little bit more detail. 2 processed here. So that was the prices and the management task. So that might give you some information or might be useful for you at some point in your project. So going back to what we were going to achieve here, and there we go. So this next thing, Swagger and refactoring the endpoint, or we might as well do it now. Well, let's just do that now. So I'll do this separately. Swagger setup. I'll do a very simple short tutorial on that. So let's just go ahead and refactor our API endpoint so that it also now returns the price. I think that's important. So let's go into DRF and then in the serializers, yes, let's set up the serializers first. Right, so what we want to do is set up the inventory serializer, this one here, to also now return the promotion price. So let's do that. And this is just one way of doing this. So promotion price. Okay, so we also now want to include the promotion price. Now, obviously, this promotion price will be 0 if there's no if this product isn't on sale. And it will include data if it is. And we can then on the front end just kind of filter that out, capture it if it is on sale. So we need to connect this data. So let's go ahead and create a serializers method field, I think. So let's go ahead and say promotion price. And we're kind of doing this just temporarily, I think. We're doing this not necessarily the correct way, but it does give us some information about something maybe you've not done before. So serializer method field. Okay, and basically we're just manually adding this on. So down here then, so we've got read only. So we need to now create a new function. Let's call it get, and it's called promotion price. And we're going to take self object. Right, so what we're going to do here then, we're going to set up a try. So what we're going to do here is just grab the data from the database. So promotion.products underscore on promotion. Again, promotion. We use the through .objects .get, and then we're bringing Q. So we're going to run a filter here, ID. So 2 things. The ID needs to be is active equals true, and then secondly, and Q product inventory ID equals object ID. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're just grabbing, for each item that we return, we're just going to check the promotion table, products in promotion table, check to make sure, first of all, the promotion is on, is active, and then we're going to get the actual product data from that linked table. And then that's how we're going to then return the price. So except object does not exist. So obviously if we can't find anything, we're just going to capture object does not exist. And then we're just going to say return none. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So basically, when we try and grab any data, so this specifically here is for the individual page where we select the individual product, I think. So what happens here, we then look down here, we run this function, we then check the promotion table. First of all, we need to make sure the promotion is active. And then secondly, we then grab the data from the product inventory ID inside of that promotion table. And then we can then go ahead and return, sorry, that's a good point. We then go ahead and return x.promo price. So we then return the promo price, and that's going to then be placed here. Else we'll just return none. So you can see there's a few dependencies that we need to bring in. So let's go ahead and do that. So from e-commerce.promotion, oh no, e-commerce.inventory.models, let's import, no, it's from promotion, sorry, promotion.models, import promotion. So we need to bring that in. And then in addition to that, we're using Q. So from Django.db.models, let's import Q. And then in addition to that, the object does not exist as well. So from Django.core.exceptions, let's import object does not exist. And there we go. So that should solve that. So there we go. So we grabbed that data and then we've made it available in the return. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. So the server should be on. Okay, so we're going to need a product. So let's just go into here and just remind ourselves what product. So this is product. This product's called, oh, it won't be in this list. So this product here, so we're going to need this product information. So we'll just grab the name of this. And oh, actually, we're just going here. We need the web ID. That's what we need. So we've just grabbed that web ID by just going into that. And then now we can go ahead and just access our endpoint. So this is going to be API/inventory. And then we're going to need our API. So that produces this product. And you can see there's one item here and it has a promotion price of £33. And there we go. So that's kind of updated that. Now we might want to include that in multiple places. We're just going to leave it there for now. And then in addition to that, what we'll probably find is that our test is now broken. So just preempting that, if we go into, we go into, this is going to be our DRF test, isn't it? If we go into product, here you can see this is what we're meant to be returning. Now, what we have now is obviously something slightly different. So let me just think about this. So somewhere in here, we're going to need to add promotion price. So just above the weight, let's add promotion price, lowercase, and then start with none. Oh. Let's give that a go. And then once we've done that, let's just make sure we're in there. Let's go, let's close that shell. Let's go back into our web app, attach another shell. Do that again. Okay, so let's run PyTest. You can see that we've got a failure here. So there's maybe a few things that we need to change. Test products. So this is the benefit of just running a test. Right, so one failed. Okay, so we basically just put it in the wrong place. You can see that where we were in the code, that's where the issue is. So promotion price, promotion underscore price. Okay, so let's go back into our test here. Promotion underscore price. We'll save that again. Let's just run all our tests again. There we go. Looks like everything's going to be okay. We know that these other tests were working, and that brings us up to date with everything. Well, thank you very much for listening. That was pretty much everything. Apart from that one point, I'll do that in a separate tutorial. But we've now created a promotional unit. We've done a fair amount of testing. We could argue there's a few other tests that we could perform, but I'm pretty confident that we've got a baseline app here and it's working okay. At this point, we could add more things to this promotion app. Of course we could, but I'll just try to make it as generic as possible. If you do have any other suggestions, then please let me know in the comment, and we're trying to accommodate them as best as we can. But hopefully you've enjoyed this. Again, thank you very much for listening if you got to this point, and hopefully see you in the next tutorial.